Imagine for a moment the quiet sanctuary of your own mind, a place no one else can enter, yet one that shapes every thought, every choice, every fleeting feeling. Within the walls of your skull lies a universe so vast and enigmatic that even the brightest scientists have only begun to map its edges. Neurons flicker like distant stars, synapses spark like hidden lightning, and currents of thought rush unseen beneath the surface of awareness. What whispers echo in this hidden cosmos? What secrets lie buried beneath layers of consciousness, shaping the very person you believe yourself to be? Perhaps the mind, in all its brilliance and fragility, is not merely a vessel of logic and memory, but a labyrinth of mysteries, some too dangerous or delicate to ever be fully understood. The human brain, a mere 3 pounds of flesh and fiber, orchestrates everything we experience: our loves, our fears, our imagination, even the very perception of reality itself. And yet it guards countless secrets, some of which even the most dedicated researchers dare not reveal. Consider the thought that every choice you make may be influenced by currents you cannot feel, by impulses formed decades before your first conscious memory. Consider the possibility that memories you trust as your own might have been altered, erased, or implanted in ways science is only beginning to glimpse. Within this intricate web, there are truths about the brain that remain stubbornly hidden, truths that are whispered about in hushed laboratories, scribbled in unpublished papers, or dismissed as impossible by the cautious voices of academia. Tonight we embark on a journey through this silent, labyrinthine world, a journey designed not to alarm, but to awaken a quiet awe. We will explore 29 secrets about the human brain that have never seen the light of public knowledge, mysteries that reveal the fragility, power, and poetry of the mind. Some of these secrets will challenge what you think you know about yourself. Others will open doors to wonders so subtle that you may only sense them as a flicker of recognition, a shiver in your consciousness, or a quiet question in the back of your mind. And some truths, perhaps, are meant to remain partly veiled, their very elusiveness a testament to the brain's own protective wisdom. Picture a neuron, tiny and unassuming, firing across a minuscule gap. That spark carries information, emotion, and intent, yet it is invisible to the world outside your skull. Imagine billions of such sparks lighting up simultaneously, creating thought, sensation, memory, and imagination. Now consider that for every spark we can detect, there may be countless more whose patterns are too subtle, too complex, or too fleeting for science to ever fully measure. Hidden within these silent flashes are the mechanisms that decide what we feel, how we dream, and even what we choose to remember or forget. The brain in its quiet vigilance is both artist and architect, creating realities so convincing that we often mistake them for truth. And yet, for all its power, the brain is a keeper of contradictions. It can conjure beauty and horror in equal measure. It can invent entire worlds while obscuring its own inner workings. It can harbor instincts older than humanity itself, while forming thoughts that feel entirely new, entirely ours. Within these contradictions lie the 29 secrets we will explore, revelations that span the delicate chemistry of emotion, the shadowy corridors of memory, the hidden mechanics of decision-making, and the subtle architectures that support consciousness itself. These are secrets that scientists whisper about in the halls of research, hesitating to publish, fearing misinterpretation, misuse, or the unsettling knowledge that the mind is far stranger than the world it perceives. Tonight, as you listen, let yourself drift into the quiet of your own mind. There is no rush, no need for urgency. The journey is one of gentle illumination, a calm wandering through the brain's unseen landscapes. Feel the pulse of your thoughts, the ebb and flow of memory, the quiet stirrings of curiosity and wonder. Ask yourself, what do I know about my own mind? What truths might lie hidden beneath the routines, the habits, the daily narratives I cling to? In this stillness, in this intimate communion with the unknown, the brain begins to reveal itself not as a machine to be measured, but as a living, breathing mystery, a keeper of secrets too profound to be fully spoken aloud. And so we begin, stepping carefully into a realm where the boundaries between science and imagination blur, where every neuron may carry a story, and where the familiar landscape of thought becomes a strange and beautiful wilderness. With each secret revealed, you may find yourself reconsidering the nature of choice, the reliability of memory, the very essence of what it means to be human. Some secrets are gentle, offering insight into creativity, intuition, and emotional resonance. Others are unsettling, hinting at the hidden forces that shape our fears, desires, and perceptions without our awareness. Yet all are part of the same intricate tapestry, woven by the brain in silence, hidden from view and waiting patiently for those who dare to explore. So tonight, we will peer into the shadows behind the skull, into the silent chambers and hidden pathways of thought. We will wander through corridors lined with memories, peek into the mechanisms of subconscious influence, and listen to the whispers of chemicals, neurons, and unseen forces that shape our every moment. These 29 secrets are not merely facts. They are revelations that illuminate the astonishing, fragile, and endlessly fascinating machinery of the mind. By the time we reach the last of them, you may find that you see your own thoughts differently, that you sense the hidden currents shaping your perceptions, and that you understand, if only a little more, that the brain is a universe unto itself, eternal, secretive, and endlessly compelling. As the first stars of evening appear, as the world grows quiet and the mind begins its gentle drift toward reflection, remember this: the brain is both your companion and your enigma. It is a silent keeper of secrets, a mysterious storyteller, and a guardian of truths too profound to be easily shared. Tonight we listen to its whispers, we follow its hidden pathways, and we step into a story that is both ancient and alive, familiar yet forever unknown. In the stillness of this journey, one question lingers above all. Which of these secrets will awaken something new within you, and which will remain tantalizingly out of reach, a reminder of the mind's infinite depth? And with that, we take our first step into the hidden universe of the brain, ready to uncover the secrets that lie just beyond the reach of light, hidden behind the skull, waiting patiently for those willing to look and to listen. Step gently, if you will, into the first chamber of the mind, a place both intimate and unknowable, where the echoes of every moment you have ever lived are stored, layered like dust on forgotten shelves. Imagine this chamber not as a simple archive, but as a labyrinth of light and shadow, a space where time folds back upon itself and moments long past brush against the edges of now. Here memories are more than photographs or facts. They are living echoes, fragile, malleable, and sometimes treacherous. Every thought, every sensation, every fleeting emotion leaves a trace, a subtle imprint that can shape your perception of who you are. And yet, few ever stop to consider how mutable these imprints truly are. Within this locked chamber, identity is both constructed and contested, formed not only by the moments we remember, but also by those we forget. Memories, for all their seeming permanence, are astonishingly fluid. Consider the way a childhood memory can shimmer differently with each retelling, as if the mind itself edits the past to suit the present. Scientists have discovered that recollection is not a simple retrieval of data, but an act of reconstruction. When we remember, we are not opening a flawless recording. We are weaving a tapestry, one that can be subtly altered by suggestion, by emotion, by the very act of reflection. A seemingly trivial comment from a friend, a fleeting photograph, a fragment of a dream, can all reshape the past in ways we do not immediately recognize. And yet these alterations are not always conscious. Often, the mind quietly adjusts the threads of memory without our awareness, leaving us with a sense of certainty about events that may never have occurred exactly as we recall. It is here, in this interplay between truth and fabrication, that some of the most profound and unsettling secrets of the human brain reside. Researchers have begun to demonstrate, through careful experiments, that memories can be implanted, erased, or modified. A simple suggestion can conjure a memory as vivid as a sunrise, a memory that feels undeniably real, yet never truly happened. The implications are staggering. If our memories are the foundation of identity, if they shape our beliefs, our fears, and our desires, then even the slightest manipulation can alter the core of who we are. The very concept of self becomes unstable, a shadow cast upon shifting ground. Imagine the quiet terror and beauty of this realization, that your mind, the intimate keeper of your life story, is capable of rewriting the past without consent, and that the person you believe yourself to be is always partly a construction of what your brain chooses to show you. Within the locked chamber, not all memories are accessible. Some lie hidden, obscured by trauma, repression, or the natural decay of neural pathways. These buried fragments can influence thought and behavior long after they have faded from conscious awareness. A forgotten argument, a lost friendship, A fleeting embarrassment from years ago may continue to echo in subtle ways, nudging choices, shaping emotional responses, and coloring perception. The brain, in its quiet vigilance, preserves these traces even when the conscious mind turns away. And yet the process is not cruel, it is protective, a form of self-preservation that balances the weight of experience with the mind's capacity to endure. In this way, the chamber becomes both a sanctuary and a mirror, reflecting the mind's resilience even as it conceals its deepest vulnerabilities. Memory manipulation is not merely theoretical. Scientists have documented cases where targeted interventions, pharmacological agents, or sensory cues can weaken or erase specific recollections. In controlled settings, individuals have been led to forget entire events or to adopt false memories with convincing clarity. The effects extend beyond the laboratory. Everyday experiences, repetition, suggestion, emotional intensity can subtly rewrite personal history. We are in some sense collaborators with our own minds in the crafting of memory, yet the process is never fully transparent. Even the most meticulous self-reflection cannot guarantee fidelity to the past. This hidden malleability is both wondrous and disquieting. It allows for healing, adaptation, and growth, but it also opens a door to uncertainty, to the unsettling knowledge that what we hold as true may be nothing more than the brain's carefully curated illusion. As you wander deeper into this chamber, notice how memories are not stored in isolation. Each recollection is interconnected, a network of associations, emotions, and sensory fragments. A scent can conjure a forgotten conversation. A song can unlock a cascade of images long buried. This interconnectivity is part of what makes memory so rich, so vivid, and so treacherous. One altered node can ripple through the network, reshaping the meaning of countless other experiences. The brain is not a passive archive, but an active storyteller, constantly interpreting, reinterpreting, and integrating the fragments of experience into the ongoing narrative of self. It is in this web of interconnection that some of the most profound secrets hide. How subtle changes in one memory can ripple outward, influencing perception, behavior, and even emotional well-being in ways that are nearly imperceptible. There is a quiet, almost sacred poetry in this process. Consider the ways we forgive, forget, or reframe events, not consciously aware of the subtle editing that has taken place. Our brains are both archivist and artist, blending reality and imagination into a seamless narrative that allows life to continue with coherence and meaning. And yet, lurking beneath this artistry is a shadow, the knowledge that our sense of reality is always mediated, filtered through countless invisible choices made by neurons and synapses beyond our awareness. In the locked chamber, the boundary between fact and illusion is permeable, and the very architecture of memory can be bent by forces subtle, hidden, and profoundly powerful. Some memories resist erasure, clinging stubbornly to consciousness like ghosts. These are often the moments that define us, the first taste of triumph, the sting of betrayal, the quiet joy of discovery. Yet even these vivid memories are not immune to distortion. Time, perspective, and emotion gradually reshape their edges. What was once unbearable may soften into nostalgia. What was once exhilarating may fade into a shadowy recollection. The brain does not lie outright, but it does edit with intention, sculpting the story of self with a gentle, relentless hand. And it is in the margins, in the spaces between vivid recollection and total forgetting, that the chamber's deepest mysteries reside. Finally, one must consider the profound implications of these hidden mechanisms for identity, morality, and consciousness itself. If memories can be altered, erased, or implanted, what does it mean to know oneself? To hold another accountable? To trust experience? These questions linger in the shadows of the mind, unanswerable yet impossible to ignore. The locked chamber is both a sanctuary and a warning. Within its walls, every secret, every hidden impression, and every altered memory is preserved, shaping the very essence of what it means to be human. As we prepare to leave this first chamber, one truth becomes clear. Memory is not a simple reflection of reality, but an active living process, a dance of light and shadow that defines who we are and who we may yet become. The whispers of forgotten moments, the subtle tremors of altered recollections, and the hidden architects of thought all converge to create the mind's most enigmatic treasure. And as we step forward into the next chamber, The corridors of the brain reveal themselves not as static halls, but as dynamic landscapes of wonder, fear, and endless possibility, inviting us to continue our exploration of the 29 secrets hidden behind the skull. Step softly into the quiet corridors of the mind, where countless tiny sparks leap across minuscule gaps, creating the luminous network of thought that is both familiar and unknowable. These are the synapses, invisible yet vital, the microscopic junctions where neurons whisper to one another in electrical and chemical languages that no human voice could ever replicate. Every thought, every impulse, every decision begins here, in the delicate choreography of 1,000 billion connections, a dance that is at once precise and fluid, measured and mysterious. Imagine these connections as shadows of light, flickering unpredictably, carrying within them not just knowledge or memory, but the unseen currents that shape the choices you believe you freely make. The brain's plasticity, its ability to rewire itself in response to experience, is one of the most enchanting and unsettling features of this shadowed landscape. From the moment of birth, and perhaps even before, neurons forge connections, prune others, and adjust to the ever-changing landscape of life. No two brains are alike, and even within a single mind, pathways shift from day to day, moment to moment. This continuous remodeling is both liberating and dangerous. It allows recovery from injury, adaptation to new skills, and the emergence of creativity. Yet it also leaves the mind vulnerable to subtle alterations. A fleeting thought, a powerful emotion, a moment of trauma, or even a suggestion from another can alter the flow of synaptic currents in ways the conscious mind rarely perceives. How much of who we are, then, is determined by these hidden shifts? How many decisions we believe to be deliberate are merely the result of currents we cannot see? Currents shaped by experience, biology, and perhaps forces we have yet to understand. These hidden currents are not abstract. They have tangible consequences on behavior and identity. Consider the subtle ways the brain responds to cues from the environment, often without conscious awareness. A glance, a word, a fleeting scent can nudge the brain to strengthen certain synaptic connections, reinforcing habits, biases, or emotional reactions. Over time, these invisible nudges accumulate, creating patterns of thought and behavior that feel natural, inevitable, and self-generated. And yet, beneath this veneer of autonomy, there is an intricate dance of influence, an interplay of synaptic shadows that guides the mind in ways that are both gentle and profound. The ordinary decisions of daily life, what to eat, whom to trust, how to react, are quietly orchestrated by these connections, currents too subtle to perceive, yet powerful enough to shape destiny. In exploring the shadows in the synapse, one encounters the astonishing truth that the brain is simultaneously resilient and fragile. Neural pathways can be strengthened through practice, meditation, or repetition, yet they can also be weakened, disrupted, or hijacked by stress, trauma, or neurochemical imbalance. Plasticity is a double-edged sword. It allows the mind to adapt and grow, but it also creates vulnerability, leaving room for unseen forces, both internal and external, to subtly steer thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors. The consequences extend far beyond mere learning. They touch the very core of identity. How do we know which preferences are truly ours, and which have been quietly shaped by years of invisible reinforcement, by currents that travel through the shadowy synaptic networks beneath conscious awareness? The shadows in the synapse also reveal the uncanny way that unconscious processes influence decision-making. Studies in neuroscience have shown that many choices are made by the brain before the conscious mind is even aware of them. A simple decision, whether to raise a hand, speak a word, or step forward, can be predicted by neural activity several seconds before we think we have decided. It is as if the mind is an orchestra, and the conscious self is merely the audience, witnessing a performance already underway. These revelations challenge the very notion of free will, suggesting that the currents flowing through our synapses may hold far more authority over our actions than we dare to admit. Yet the experience of choice, though partially illusory, remains profoundly real, a testament to the brain's capacity to craft coherent narratives from a chaotic network of signals and impulses. And yet, for all its hypnotic complexity, the synapse is exquisitely vulnerable to disruption. Tiny chemical imbalances, subtle injuries, or even prolonged stress can alter the strength of connections, shifting mood, perception, and behavior in ways that seem sudden and inexplicable. This fragility is a reminder that our thoughts, no matter how confident or deliberate, are always contingent, resting upon a network of delicate threads that are both unseen and uncelebrated. Within these shadows lie the seeds of genius and madness alike, the potential for creativity, insight, and profound understanding, as well as the possibility of confusion, distortion, or emotional upheaval. To walk among the synapses is to witness the delicate balance between brilliance and fragility, autonomy and influence, reality and the quiet shadows that shape it. The mind's hidden currents extend beyond the individual neuron to vast networks that govern perception, emotion, and cognition. These networks, like rivers flowing beneath the surface, carry information between distant regions of the brain, linking memory, attention, and sensory input into a seamless whole. Yet these rivers are not always calm. Turbulence in one region can ripple outward, altering perception and judgment. A subtle change in emotional state can color memory, reshape expectation, and influence behavior in ways that remain hidden until reflected upon much later. Even the most ordinary moment of thought is a confluence of countless streams, converging, diverging, and intersecting in patterns that remain largely invisible to conscious awareness. Consider for a moment the way experience sculpts these networks over time. Childhood learning, repeated habits, trauma, joy, love, and loss all leave their mark, strengthening some pathways, weakening others, and weaving a pattern that is uniquely personal. No two minds interpret the world in precisely the same way, because the synaptic networks themselves are shaped by history, biology, and circumstance. This is both awe-inspiring and unsettling. In these currents, we find the hidden architecture of personality, the invisible forces that govern choice, and the quiet channels that determine how life is experienced. The brain, in its silent brilliance, creates the illusion of coherent identity, even as it is continually rewritten, revised, and restructured beneath our awareness. The shadows in the synapse also harbor the most intimate of secrets, the ways in which emotions shape thought, and vice versa. Neural pathways associated with fear, desire, attachment, or aversion are reinforced or diminished with experience, creating invisible biases that guide perception and decision-making. These biases, often unnoticed, become part of the invisible scaffolding of personality, subtly influencing how we interpret the world and how we respond to it. One moment of joy, one experience of heartbreak, one fleeting act of kindness, each can leave a trace, a subtle ripple in the synaptic ocean that quietly guides future thought and behavior. The brain remembers not just what happened, but how it felt, embedding the emotional resonance of experience into the structure of its connections. And so, as we drift through this shadowed labyrinth, we begin to glimpse the profound mystery of human consciousness, that so much of who we are, what we think and what we choose, is quietly choreographed by currents we cannot see, flowing through connections too small to observe with the naked eye. Every decision we make, every preference we form, every impulse we follow, is the product of an intricate symphony played in the shadows, unseen yet deeply felt. And yet within these shadows lies also the promise of growth, adaptation, and insight, the possibility that by understanding the currents of the synapse, we may glimpse the delicate mechanisms by which thought, choice, and identity emerge. The journey through these hidden networks raises profound questions. How much of our selfhood is truly ours? How many decisions are guided by invisible currents, shaped by experiences long past or stimuli we scarcely perceive? And yet perhaps the most beautiful secret of all is that, despite the unseen influence of these currents, consciousness remains a luminous, self-reflective phenomenon, a narrative, a story, a witness to its own unfolding. To walk among the shadows in the synapse is to recognize both the mystery and the majesty of the human brain, a place where choice and influence, memory and perception, reality and illusion intermingle in patterns that are both invisible and undeniable. And so, as the mind drifts toward quiet reflection, as the neurons continue their delicate ballet, we step forward to the next chamber of exploration, where hidden hemispheres, intuition, and creativity await discovery. The journey is far from over, and the shadows of the synapse have only begun to reveal the astonishing architecture of thought, the hypnotic currents that guide life and the mysterious, silent forces that lie just beyond the reach of conscious awareness. In these currents, the brain guards its secrets patiently, profoundly, and endlessly, waiting for those willing to follow the light of curiosity into the depths of its hidden universe. Step quietly into the twilight corridors of the mind, where two great landscapes of thought stretch in parallel, yet each holds its own mysterious terrain. The human brain, in its silent complexity, is divided into two hemispheres, left and right, yet this division is not merely anatomical. It is a dance of function, perception, and hidden capability, a duality that guides everything from the rhythm of thought to the pulse of imagination. Most of us are aware in passing of the old notions, the left hemisphere as rational, analytical, logical, the right as creative, intuitive, and emotional. But this oversimplification barely scratches the surface. Beneath this familiar framework lies a secret, shadowed world, where the hemispheres intertwine, overlap, and subtly whisper to each other across the corpus callosum, shaping experience in ways both profound and almost imperceptible. It is here, in the forgotten corners of the brain, that hidden creativity, intuition, and perception quietly reside, waiting for those who are willing to explore the depths of mental duality. The left hemisphere, often celebrated as the seat of reason, is indeed remarkable in its capacity to organize, categorize, and analyze. It constructs frameworks for language, logical deduction, and problem-solving. Yet even within its ordered patterns, there are secrets that defy simple description. The left hemisphere does not merely compute. It anticipates, it predicts, and it adapts in ways that quietly shape behavior and perception. It is a silent architect of expectation, a force that structures reality in subtle ways. When you prepare for a conversation, plan a route, or mentally rehearse a choice, the left hemisphere orchestrates the sequence of thought, often before consciousness even notices. And yet its influence is not absolute. It is constantly in dialogue with the right hemisphere, which adds color, texture, and nuance to the raw scaffolding of logic. The right hemisphere, often called the creative or intuitive side, is equally enigmatic. It perceives patterns, interprets emotion, and senses the unspoken rhythms of the world. It is the hemisphere of metaphor, of music, of art, and of the ineffable qualities that make human experience rich and textured. Its processes are subtle, often operating below the threshold of awareness, yet they are no less real or powerful. Imagine the quiet spark of intuition that nudges a decision, the sudden insight that resolves a problem in a way reason alone could never reach, the fleeting recognition of a face or a place that feels impossibly familiar. These are the right hemisphere at work, weaving connections that defy strict logic, drawing meaning from the world in ways the conscious mind may never fully articulate. Between these two hemispheres flows a continuous dialogue, facilitated by a vast network of neural fibers, most notably the corpus callosum, a thick bundle of axons that allows the two sides to communicate in near real time. Yet even in this collaboration, there are mysteries. Some neural pathways are stronger, some weaker. Some connections appear dormant, activated only under specific conditions, while others continuously whisper, shaping perception and thought without fanfare. It is in these subtleties that hidden creativity and intuition thrive. Many of the brain's most profound insights arise not from deliberate effort, but from the subtle interplay of hemispheric conversation, an unseen negotiation between logic and imagination. Order and chaos, analysis and instinct. The forgotten hemisphere also contains secrets about perception itself. How do we recognize faces, interpret tone, or navigate complex environments? How do we sense danger, empathize with others, or experience awe? Many of these processes rely heavily on the right hemisphere, yet they are rarely fully understood. Some researchers have even discovered that when certain pathways in the right hemisphere are disrupted, patients lose not only visual or spatial perception, but also the ability to intuit meaning or grasp subtle emotional cues. Conversely, overactivity in the right hemisphere can lead to heightened creativity, unusual pattern recognition, and experiences of the world that feel rich, vivid, and sometimes overwhelming. In this delicate balance lies the secret of the human mind. Each hemisphere alone is incomplete, yet together they create the rich tapestry of consciousness that defines human experience. Consider too the hidden reservoirs of creativity that lie dormant, only accessible under particular conditions. Many artists, musicians, and innovators report sudden insights, flashes of imagination that feel as though they come from somewhere beyond conscious effort. Neuroscience suggests these moments often occur when the hemispheres are temporarily decoupled, when the right hemisphere is allowed to dominate without the usual constraints of left hemisphere logic. These windows, fleeting and unpredictable, reveal a hidden hemisphere brimming with possibility, a landscape of thought where intuition and creativity flow freely, unburdened by the strictures of analysis. It is a reminder that the mind, even in its most structured moments, harbors untamed, shadowed currents, capable of producing brilliance beyond conscious intention. Yet this duality is not without tension. The hemispheres sometimes compete rather than collaborate. Emotional impulses arising from the right hemisphere can clash with the rational judgments of the left. Intuition may be dismissed, creativity suppressed, or perceptions misinterpreted. These conflicts can shape personality, influence decision-making, and even leave traces in memory. One might feel inexplicable regret, sudden inspiration, or the pull of intuition against reason, moments when the hidden forces of the brain assert themselves quietly yet insistently. It is in these subtle tensions that the brain's hidden beauty and complexity are most apparent, revealing how deeply intertwined identity, perception, and cognition truly are. In dreaming, the interplay of hemispheres takes on another dimension. Sleep allows the right hemisphere to roam more freely, creating rich imagery, abstract thought, and symbolic narratives, while the left hemisphere's logical scrutiny is partially suspended. This may explain the vivid, sometimes surreal quality of dreams and their capacity to spark insight upon waking. Dreams may be the stage upon which the forgotten hemisphere expresses itself most fully, revealing hidden connections, synthesizing experiences, and sometimes delivering profound creative solutions that elude conscious waking thought. It is a reminder that much of the mind's hidden genius resides not in deliberate effort, but in the subtle, often overlooked operations of the right hemisphere, quietly weaving meaning in the shadows. The forgotten hemisphere also holds keys to empathy, emotional intelligence, and the perception of nuance in human interaction. Subtle cues, tone of voice, micro-expressions, body language, are processed largely by the right hemisphere, often without conscious awareness. These capacities allow us to navigate the social world, sense danger or kindness, and form deep intuitive understandings of others. Yet they are delicate, sensitive to stress, fatigue, or neurological disruption. When these pathways are impaired, social perception falters, intuition dims, and the rich tapestry of emotional connection becomes frayed. In this way, the right hemisphere guards some of the most intimate secrets of human interaction, quietly influencing relationships and shaping the emotional landscapes of our lives. Even language, though largely attributed to the left hemisphere, relies on the nuanced contributions of the right. Sarcasm, metaphor, humor, and subtle emotional coloring of speech are all interpreted through right hemisphere networks. Without this collaboration, communication becomes flat, literal, and impoverished. It is a hidden testament to the brain's complexity that even seemingly ordinary conversations are underwritten by an elaborate, largely invisible dialogue between hemispheres, a silent negotiation that shapes understanding and meaning in every exchange. As we reflect upon these hidden hemispheric dynamics, it becomes clear that the brain is less a single organ than a dual orchestra, each hemisphere playing its own melody, yet harmonizing in subtle, extraordinary ways. The forgotten hemisphere, the right side that often escapes conscious recognition, contains reservoirs of creativity, intuition, perception, and emotion that are essential to the human experience. To explore it is to wander through the quiet, dreamlike landscapes of thought, where the rules of logic soften and imagination, insight, and subtle understanding flourish. And so as the mind drifts deeper into these shadowed realms, we are reminded that identity, creativity, and perception are never the product of one hemisphere alone. They emerge from the interplay, the dialogue, the unseen currents that bridge left and right, conscious and subconscious. It is in this liminal space, between order and chaos, logic and intuition, that some of the brain's most profound secrets are hidden, quietly shaping who we are and what we might become. With the illumination of this forgotten hemisphere, the path forward leads naturally to the next chamber, where chemicals, hormones, and neurotransmitters, the silent alchemists of the mind, await discovery, poised to reveal how subtle, unseen forces orchestrate emotion, thought, and behavior in ways we are only beginning to understand. The journey through hidden currents and dual hemispheres continues, promising insight, reflection, and the quiet awe of witnessing the brain's infinite complexity. Step quietly into the hidden alchemy of the mind, where thoughts, emotions, and desires are not only shaped by experience and memory, but also by invisible messengers that dance silently within the brain. These are the neurotransmitters and hormones, the delicate chemicals that whisper to neurons, orchestrating the symphony of mood, desire, fear, and attachment. They are the hidden conductors of the mind, guiding every feeling, every fleeting impulse, every intimate perception of the world around us. We often believe that our joys, our fears, our loves are entirely our own, products of conscious thought and choice. Yet in truth, these chemicals are always at work, subtly steering experience, gently nudging the currents of the mind in directions that may feel instinctive, but are, in part, quietly choreographed by biology. Consider dopamine, the chemical of desire, reward, and motivation. Each spark of anticipation, each surge of excitement carries its subtle signature. Dopamine flows through the brain's circuits, marking what is pleasurable, reinforcing behaviors and guiding decision-making without our awareness. A glance from a loved one, the sound of a familiar voice, the sight of a coveted object. All of these experiences trigger cascades of dopamine, creating patterns of behavior that feel natural and self-directed. Yet they are, in essence, chemical suggestions, invisible currents that shape what we seek, what we cherish, and even what we fear to lose. The very sensation of pleasure, of longing, of motivation, is inextricably entwined with these whispering molecules, reminding us that emotion is both felt and biochemically orchestrated. Serotonin, another key messenger, quietly regulates mood, perception, and social behavior. It is the chemical that balances joy and calm, stabilizes anxiety, and colors the emotional backdrop of every thought. When serotonin flows smoothly, the mind feels centered, attuned, and capable of empathy. When its levels falter, subtle distortions in mood and perception can occur, altering how the world is experienced. A smile may seem less radiant, a word of kindness less touching, a shadow in the corner of the mind more ominous than it truly is. This hidden modulation is never loud or deliberate. It is a whisper, a gentle influence that can determine whether we perceive life as safe, meaningful, or threatening. And yet, for all its subtlety, serotonin's impact is profound, shaping personality, perspective, and even the perception of reality itself. Oxytocin, often called the love hormone, flows in secret during moments of trust, intimacy, and connection. It enhances bonding between lovers, parents, and children, friends and allies, creating feelings of safety, attachment, and warmth. But this chemical is not limited to romantic or familial love. It also shapes subtle social perception, guiding empathy, trust, and cooperation. The presence of oxytocin can make a stranger seem familiar, a gentle gesture feel comforting, a shared glance feel profound, and yet its absence or misregulation can quietly distance us from connection, subtly altering relationships in ways that may remain unnoticed until observed in hindsight. In this way, hormones shape the unseen architecture of social life, quietly orchestrating attachment and affection beneath the surface of conscious thought. Cortisol, the stress hormone, offers a darker whisper. It prepares the body and brain to respond to danger, heightening vigilance, sharpening perception, and accelerating reaction. Yet its influence extends beyond acute survival. Prolonged exposure can warp thought, memory, and emotion, leaving subtle traces in perception and behavior. A fleeting sense of dread, a hesitation in decision-making, a persistent undercurrent of anxiety, all can be traced, at least in part, to cortisol's subtle orchestration. The brain is remarkably adaptive, using this chemical not only to respond to immediate threats, but also to shape expectations of risk, influencing choices and behavior long after the danger has passed. In this hidden chemical theater, fear is not merely an abstract emotion. It is a whispered suggestion, a trace left by molecules quietly sculpting the landscape of thought and perception. Adrenaline, another silent messenger, surges during moments of excitement, danger, or exhilaration. It primes the body for action, sharpening senses and quickening reflexes. But adrenaline also affects perception and memory, intensifying experiences so that they feel monumental, almost sacred. A sudden fright, an unexpected triumph, a shocking revelation, all are enhanced and crystallized by adrenaline, embedding themselves into memory with a vividness that ordinary moments rarely achieve. These chemical surges remind us that our most intense experiences are not merely events. They are orchestrated symphonies of neural and hormonal activity, where perception and biochemistry intertwine so seamlessly that we scarcely notice the invisible hand guiding our awareness. Even less famous neurotransmitters like GABA and glutamate participate in this secret dialogue, shaping the brain's excitatory and inhibitory balance, regulating attention, calmness, and arousal. GABA acts as a quieting agent, tempering excess thought, damping anxiety, and allowing reflection. Glutamate, in contrast, energizes synaptic activity, fostering learning, memory, and adaptability. The interplay of these chemicals, delicate and intricate, ensures that the mind maintains equilibrium even as it navigates complexity, subtly guiding focus, perception, and emotional responsiveness. In their whispering exchange, the brain finds stability, continuity, and coherence. The intimate influence of these chemicals extends into realms we scarcely notice: desire, intuition, creativity, and even morality. The chemicals of the brain shape how we perceive beauty, how we evaluate risk, how we weigh emotion against reason. They guide not only the intensity of our experiences, but also the lens through which we interpret them. What feels like a choice, a judgment, or a moment of inspiration is often a subtle collaboration between conscious awareness and molecular suggestion, a whispered negotiation between the self we perceive and the chemical currents that flow unseen beneath awareness. The brain, in this sense, is both narrator and stage, storyteller and silent chemist, weaving together emotion, thought, and perception in ways that are intimate, intricate, and deeply hidden. Love itself, perhaps the most ineffable of human experiences, is inseparable from chemical orchestration. Dopamine sparks desire, oxytocin binds attachment, serotonin stabilizes mood, and subtle interactions among countless other molecules guide the perception of intimacy, trust, and connection. The feeling of falling for another, the thrill of closeness, the ache of separation, all are biochemically mediated yet experienced as profoundly personal and subjective. The hidden orchestration is intimate, invisible, and yet undeniably central to the human experience. It reminds us that even our most private emotions are part of a delicate chemical symphony played quietly in the chambers of the brain, shaping how we love, fear, and connect. In moments of fear or danger, these same chemicals guide survival with astonishing subtlety. Cortisol and adrenaline heighten perception, quicken reflexes, and focus attention on what matters most. Yet they also leave traces, subtle imprints on memory and judgment that linger long after the immediate threat has passed. Even ordinary anxiety, small but persistent, is often a reflection of these whispering molecules, shaping thought, influencing behavior, and coloring experience without conscious recognition. In this way, the brain's chemical orchestra is both protective and enigmatic, guiding life through invisible currents that are intimate, profound, and sometimes unsettling. To understand the brain's whispering chemicals is to glimpse the hidden architecture of experience. It is to recognize that every emotion, every impulse, every sensation is, in part, the product of invisible forces operating silently within the mind. The mind's chemistry does not merely accompany thought. It shapes it, molds it, and at times subtly dictates it, ensuring that life is not experienced as mere observation, but as a vivid, nuanced, and deeply personal journey. It is in this intimate, revealing theater that the brain guards some of its most profound secrets, teaching us that perception, emotion, and behavior are never wholly under conscious control, yet profoundly our own. And so, as we drift through this alchemical landscape, the brain's whispering chemicals offer both revelation and wonder. They remind us that every feeling is layered, every impulse nuanced, and every thought quietly influenced by unseen currents. The next chamber awaits, where dreams, sleep, and the subconscious mind will reveal how these chemical currents interact with memory, creativity, and intuition, guiding not only what we do, but how we feel, perceive, and imagine. In the quiet intimacy of this exploration, we begin to sense the profound subtlety of the brain's orchestration, the delicate whispers that shape the very essence of our experience. Step softly into the twilight of consciousness, the liminal space between waking and sleeping, where the brain drifts into realms both familiar and profoundly mysterious. In sleep, the mind retreats from the immediate demands of the external world, yet it does not rest. Instead, it journeys inward, weaving together fragments of memory, sensation, emotion, and imagination to create a landscape that is at once ethereal and intensely real. Dreams are the theater of the subconscious, a realm where the mind plays with symbols, patterns, and hidden truths, a place where logic softens and the imagination takes its unfettered flight. Every night, the brain orchestrates this silent symphony, producing visions that may appear nonsensical, yet often carry messages from hidden currents we rarely perceive in waking life. Consider the fluidity of dreams. In this state, the usual constraints of time, space, and cause and effect dissolve. Scenes shift without warning. People appear and vanish. Memories, fears, and desires intermingle in ways that defy ordinary understanding. A single dream may contain multiple layers, a memory folded into a symbol, an emotional truth concealed within a fragment of narrative, an insight quietly encoded in imagery that seems abstract but resonates with uncanny clarity upon waking. Dreams, it seems, have a language of their own, a language that communicates not in words or logic but through emotion, metaphor, and sensory impression. They are an intimate interface between the conscious and subconscious, where hidden knowledge may emerge, carefully encoded in the ephemeral fabric of experience. Lucid dreaming adds another layer of wonder and complexity. In these rare moments, the dreamer becomes aware of the dream's nature, able to navigate its shifting landscapes with intention. Yet even here, mysteries abound. Neuroscience suggests that the brain remains highly active during lucid dreaming, particularly in regions associated with self-awareness, memory, and control, while other areas maintain the fluid, hallucinatory qualities of ordinary dreams. The result is a hybrid state, conscious observation within a subconscious landscape. Lucid dreams can reveal insights that elude waking thought, offer creative solutions, or provide access to layers of the psyche that remain hidden during the day. They hint at the brain's untapped capacities, suggesting that our inner worlds may hold knowledge waiting to be discovered, if only we learn to navigate them. Sleep itself is a complex choreography of neural activity, alternating between deep, restorative, slow-wave sleep and rapid eye movement, REM stages, where dreams are most vivid. During REM, the brain's activity closely mirrors waking states, yet the frontal lobes, the regions associated with rational control and self-criticism, are partially deactivated. This allows dream imagery to unfold freely, unconstrained by the rules of logic or reality. Memories can be replayed, reshaped, and recombined. Emotions are intensified. Creativity blossoms. It is in this fluid, semi-conscious state that the mind may encode hidden knowledge, draw connections between disparate experiences, and rehearse responses to challenges both real and imagined. Dreams in this sense are more than entertainment. They are a laboratory of cognition, a quiet space where the mind tests, explores, and integrates its understanding of the world. There are whispers in the neuroscience literature suggesting that dreams may serve functions beyond memory consolidation or emotional processing. Some researchers propose that dreams act as simulations, preparing the mind for scenarios that waking life cannot safely provide. Others suggest that dreams allow the subconscious to communicate with consciousness, offering insights that remain inaccessible in the structured, analytical state of wakefulness. Consider the subtle guidance of intuition. A dream may encode a solution to a problem, a warning about a relational dynamic, or a creative spark in symbolic form, only recognizable upon reflection. The mind, it seems, is capable of generating knowledge in the liminal spaces between sleep and wakefulness, crafting visions that are simultaneously fantastical and meaningful. Dreams are also deeply personal, yet remarkably universal. Across cultures, epochs, and individual experience, recurring motifs appear: falling, flying, being chased, discovering hidden spaces, encountering figures of authority or guidance. These motifs may reflect archetypal patterns embedded in the human psyche, processed through the neural networks that govern emotion, memory, and perception. Yet the way each person experiences them is singular, shaped by life history, emotional states, and the subtle chemistry of the brain. Even the same dream scenario can carry profoundly different messages, depending on the dreamer's neural and emotional context. In this way, dreams are both a mirror and a map, reflecting internal landscapes while pointing toward hidden truths waiting to be explored. The emotional intensity of dreams also warrants attention. Fear, desire, joy, and longing are often amplified within dreams, sometimes to the point of overwhelming vividness. This emotional resonance is not accidental. It appears to be a core mechanism by which dreams influence waking cognition. Emotional processing in dreams allows the brain to integrate experiences, rehearse responses, and reconcile conflicts that remain unresolved during the day. A fleeting anxiety, a subconscious hope, or an unspoken fear may emerge in dream imagery, providing an intimate glimpse into the mind's hidden layers. It is as though the brain whispers secrets during sleep, carefully encoded in narrative and symbol, inviting the dreamer to listen with attention and reflection. Some dreams carry the quality of premonition, insight, or sudden clarity. While anecdotal, these experiences suggest that the dreaming mind may process information in ways inaccessible to waking thought, detecting patterns, connections, or probabilities that escape conscious perception. Lucid dreamers, in particular, often report moments of sudden revelation, creative inspiration, or the emergence of ideas that later influence waking decisions. This hints at a remarkable hidden intelligence within the sleeping brain, a capacity to navigate complexity, integrate experience, and even generate novel understanding while consciousness rests. Dreams, then, are not merely passive reflections. They may be active participants in shaping cognition, emotion, and insight. The sensory richness of dreams also contributes to their mysterious power. In dreams, the mind recreates sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell, often with astonishing fidelity. Familiar places may appear alongside imagined landscapes. Voices may echo with clarity. Physical sensations may evoke memories of touch, warmth, or pressure. These sensory experiences reinforce the vividness of the dream world, allowing it to leave a lasting imprint on memory and emotion. Some neuroscientists speculate that this immersive quality of dreams serves adaptive functions, enhancing memory consolidation, emotional processing, and even problem-solving. Others suggest that it may allow the subconscious to communicate subtle guidance to waking awareness, using imagery and sensation to encode hidden information in a form that bypasses the analytical mind. Even nightmares, dark and unsettling as they may be, carry hidden purpose. They intensify emotional experience, rehearse survival responses, and bring subconscious fears to conscious attention. Within these intense visions, the brain may highlight unresolved conflicts, anxieties, or suppressed emotions, inviting reflection and integration. Nightmares, in this sense, are not merely disturbances. They are part of the brain's silent pedagogy, a way of encoding lessons, exploring risk, and preparing the self for challenges that waking thought cannot safely simulate. The frightening, the uncanny, and the bizarre all serve the subtle function of making the subconscious visible, of guiding the dreamer through the hidden currents of internal experience. The boundary between dreams and waking life is fluid. Many dream images, thoughts, or feelings persist upon waking, subtly shaping mood, perception, and even decisions. Intuition, creativity, and insight often emerge from this liminal state, suggesting that the brain encodes knowledge across consciousness levels, blending sleep, dreaming, and waking reflection into a continuous flow. The ethereal quality of dreams, their fluidity, and their symbolic richness make them both elusive and profoundly informative, hinting at the hidden depth of cognitive processing that occurs when the mind retreats from the immediate demands of the external world. As we drift further into understanding dreams, one cannot help but wonder about the broader implications. What hidden knowledge resides in the subconscious, waiting to be decoded through symbols and imagery? What insights, unspoken desires, or creative solutions might the brain generate while consciousness rests? And perhaps most tantalizing of all, could dreams act as a bridge between the known and the unknown, a channel through which the mind explores realities beyond ordinary perception, encoded in narratives, symbols, and sensations that whisper quietly, inviting attention and reflection? The brain, in its silent nocturnal work, offers both mystery and revelation. Dreams remind us that consciousness is not a single, fixed state but a continuum, flowing from wakefulness to sleep, from the analytical mind to the intuitive, from the immediate present to the hidden past and potential future. Within these transitions, knowledge, emotion, and creativity intermingle, creating a hidden tapestry that is both intimate and universal, personal, yet archetypal. The sleeping mind, guided by whispering chemicals, neural currents, and hemispheric interplay, produces visions that are simultaneously ephemeral and enduring, chaotic yet meaningful, mundane yet profound. And so as we drift at the edges of consciousness, floating through dreams between worlds, the mind offers its quiet secrets. It teaches that knowledge, insight, and understanding are not confined to waking thought. They emerge also from the ethereal spaces of sleep, from the delicate choreography of memory, emotion, and imagination. To enter this dream world is to glimpse the hidden depths of cognition, to witness the brain's subtle wisdom, and to sense that even in stillness, the mind is alive, exploring, encoding, and revealing truths that may never be spoken aloud but remain profoundly real. Step softly into the silent halls of the mind, where countless memories, instincts, and fragments of knowledge lie stored, often unseen, yet profoundly influencing thought and behavior. This is the hidden library of the subconscious, a vast archive that operates beneath conscious awareness, shaping choices, perceptions, and intuition. While the conscious mind navigates the immediate world, making decisions and weighing evidence, the subconscious quietly consults its shelves, retrieving impressions, experiences, and learned patterns to guide action in ways that are often imperceptible. It is a library without walls, a luminous archive where intuition, instinct, and latent abilities coexist, waiting to be accessed by those attentive enough to notice the quiet whispers of the mind. The human brain contains more information than we are capable of consciously processing, and yet it manages to navigate complex environments with remarkable precision. Much of this guidance arises from the hidden library of experience stored in subconscious networks. These networks preserve not only explicit memories, but also patterns of perception, emotional responses, and procedural knowledge. They allow us to perform intricate tasks, such as walking, playing an instrument, or interpreting subtle social cues without deliberate thought. It is as though the brain maintains a shadow manuscript of every experience, every encounter, and every learned skill, consulting this archive silently to optimize behavior, often before the conscious mind has fully registered what is happening. Instinct, one of the most ancient forces in the mind's hidden library, operates as a rapid response system, allowing the brain to react to stimuli with near-immediate precision. It is the residue of evolutionary wisdom, encoded in neural pathways that anticipate danger, opportunity, and need without requiring deliberation. Consider a sudden feeling of caution in an unfamiliar environment or an inexplicable attraction toward a person or place. These responses often emerge from instincts honed over millennia, retrieved from the subconscious library with speed and subtlety. They are the silent guides of survival and social navigation, shaping behavior in ways that are as reliable as they are mysterious, revealing that much of what we consider conscious judgment is in fact the echo of a vast hidden archive. Yet the library of the subconscious extends beyond mere instinct. It holds what might be called latent knowledge, information absorbed from the world but never consciously learned. A fleeting pattern recognized without understanding, a solution to a problem that emerges spontaneously, or a sudden insight into a complex social dynamic may all arise from this hidden repository. Intuition, often dismissed as mysterious or magical, is in truth the brain consulting its hidden shelves, synthesizing countless impressions, observations, and prior experiences into a response that feels immediate and inexplicable. It is the mind's way of accessing knowledge too vast or too subtle to process consciously, drawing on connections formed across time, experience, and neural networks. The subconscious library also stores emotional and sensory memories with remarkable fidelity. While we may forget specific events or details consciously, the brain retains traces of emotional resonance, sensory impressions, and contextual cues. These imprints influence perception, decision-making, and interpersonal behavior, often without conscious recognition. A person may feel unease in a situation that resembles a past negative experience, sense comfort in a familiar setting, or feel inexplicable confidence when encountering a task similar to one previously mastered. These subtle currents of memory, retrieved silently from the mind's hidden shelves, shape our experience with astonishing precision, creating a richness of behavior and perception that feels intuitive yet is grounded in the accumulated knowledge of the subconscious. Consider also the phenomenon of expertise and the uncanny ability of trained individuals to perform complex tasks without conscious deliberation. A chess grandmaster may sense the best move. A musician may play with effortless mastery, or a surgeon may execute a delicate procedure almost instinctively. These abilities, though honed consciously through practice, are ultimately stored in the mind's hidden library, retrieved by subconscious processes that operate faster and more efficiently than conscious deliberation could ever achieve. It is a testament to the power of the hidden mind, demonstrating that much of human ability exists not in active thought, but in the silent, awe-inspiring archive of experience and knowledge beneath awareness. The mind's hidden library also houses imaginative potential, creativity, and problem-solving capabilities that may not be consciously recognized until summoned. Dreams, daydreams, and sudden flashes of inspiration are often the result of this repository being consulted indirectly, as neural networks sift through stored knowledge to generate novel combinations, metaphors, and insights. Creative breakthroughs, scientific discoveries, and artistic revelations frequently arise from this process. When the conscious mind is unaware but the hidden library has quietly synthesized experience, memory, and intuition into coherent insight, it is as if the brain maintains a vast unseen workshop where latent knowledge is continually reorganized, evaluated, and prepared for deployment when the moment is right. Even the smallest aspects of perception and social navigation draw upon the mind's hidden library. Facial expressions, tone of voice, and subtle social cues are interpreted with remarkable accuracy, often without conscious effort. The brain retrieves prior encounters and impressions, applying them seamlessly to new interactions, allowing humans to respond with empathy, intuition, and foresight. This capacity, though largely invisible, underscores the extraordinary depth of the subconscious, suggesting that much of what we experience as spontaneous understanding is in fact guided by hidden archives of knowledge and experience, consulted continuously and silently. There is also a sense in which the mind's hidden library stores not only what we have experienced, but what we have observed and absorbed indirectly. Cultural knowledge, language patterns, social norms, and even abstract concepts can be internalized without deliberate attention, residing in the subconscious until retrieval is required. A single encounter with a phrase, a gesture, or a pattern can be stored indefinitely, ready to emerge when relevant. The brain functions as both observer and archivist, capturing information across time and context, weaving it into networks that inform perception, intuition, and behavior long after the initial encounter has faded from conscious memory. Moreover, the library is not static. It is dynamic, constantly reorganizing, pruning, and strengthening connections based on experience and use. Synaptic plasticity ensures that the most relevant knowledge remains accessible, while less useful information may fade into shadowed corners. This adaptability allows the hidden mind to respond flexibly to new challenges, integrating novel experiences into existing frameworks and updating instinctive responses to reflect changing environments. It is an elegant system of storage, retrieval, and synthesis, one that functions without conscious effort, yet profoundly shapes thought, behavior, and understanding. In contemplating this hidden library, one cannot help but pose profound questions. How much potential remains untapped within the subconscious? What abilities, insights, or knowledge lie dormant, awaiting activation? Could intuition, latent talent, or sudden understanding be glimpses of what the mind already knows but has yet to surface consciously? The implications are awe-inspiring, suggesting that the human brain contains reservoirs of intelligence, creativity, and perceptual acuity far greater than what we actively utilize. Every moment of hesitation, every sudden flash of insight, every subtle instinct may be the retrieval of knowledge long stored in these silent, mysterious shelves. The mind's hidden library is not merely a storage space. It is an active, dynamic, and intelligent system. It filters experience, evaluates relevance, encodes patterns, and guides behavior with precision and subtlety. Conscious thought may navigate the world visibly, yet it is the hidden archive that quietly determines outcomes, orchestrates reactions, and guides the flow of intuition. It is in this library that hidden abilities are preserved, instincts refined, and knowledge encoded beyond immediate awareness. Each person carries within them a vast, untapped collection of potential, an invisible archive that informs perception, guides behavior, and shapes experience in ways both subtle and profound. And so, as we move through the silent corridors of this hidden library, we begin to sense the extraordinary capabilities of the mind. It is a space of mystery, a repository of knowledge and instinct, intuition and creativity, memory and potential, all coexisting in quiet, intricate harmony. To explore it is to glimpse the awe-inspiring depth of the human brain, to recognize that much of what we experience as spontaneous, instinctive, or intuitive is, in fact, the careful retrieval of knowledge preserved in the unseen chambers of the mind. The journey does not end here. It continues into the next realms where perception, intuition, and hidden senses reveal even more astonishing secrets of cognition and awareness, awaiting those willing to listen to the silent whispers of the mind's hidden library. Venture quietly into the hidden scaffolding of the brain, a vast landscape where neurons, long celebrated as the primary engines of thought, are only part of the story. Beneath and around these familiar cells exists a silent army of unsung architects, glial cells, microstructures, and intricate networks whose work is subtle, pervasive, and utterly essential. While neurons spark with electric signals, transmitting information, and creating the patterns we recognize as thought, memory, and perception, glial cells operate as caretakers, guides, and organizers, shaping the environment in which neurons can function with precision and reliability. They provide nourishment, clear debris, and maintain the delicate chemical balance essential for neural communication, creating an invisible infrastructure that is at once scientific, poetic, and awe-inspiring in its subtlety. For decades, glial cells were relegated to the margins of neuroscience, dismissed as passive support structures. Yet modern research has revealed that they are far more than silent attendants. They actively influence synaptic strength, regulate the flow of neurotransmitters, and even participate in the creation of thought itself. Astrocytes, one of the primary glial cell types, extend tentacle-like processes across vast stretches of neural tissue, forming networks that rival the connectivity of neurons. They detect activity, release signaling molecules, and modulate communication between neurons, subtly shaping cognition and behavior. In essence, astrocytes act as hidden architects, constructing the scaffolding that allows the symphony of thought to unfold with clarity, stability, and nuance. Microglia, another class of glial cells, serve as vigilant sentinels within this hidden architecture. They constantly survey the neural landscape, identifying threats, pruning damaged connections, and ensuring that the brain's networks remain resilient and adaptive. In this quiet surveillance, microglia do more than protect. They sculpt, refine, and optimize the brain's connectivity, shaping the patterns of communication that underlie thought, memory, and emotion. The brain's activity, it seems, is not simply the result of neural firing. It is the outcome of a complex collaboration between neurons and glial cells, orchestrated by forces that are largely invisible yet profoundly determinative. Beyond these cellular caretakers lies an even more intricate microcosm of structures that sustain cognition. Dendritic spines, tiny protrusions on neurons, form contact points that allow for synaptic communication. Their density, shape, and adaptability are influenced by experience, learning, and glial modulation, creating a dynamic, constantly evolving architecture. These microstructures act as bridges across the neural landscape, subtly shaping how information flows, how memories are encoded, and how new connections are forged. In the quiet interplay of dendritic growth and pruning, the brain's potential is expanded, honed, and maintained, revealing a level of precision and organization that is both scientific and poetic. Hidden from the casual observer, yet essential to the experience of thought itself. The brain also hosts a vast network of axons and myelin sheaths, structures that silently accelerate and coordinate communication across regions. Myelination, the process by which axons are insulated, ensures that electrical signals travel rapidly and efficiently, connecting distant areas of the brain in an intricate choreography. It is through these hidden highways that complex processes, language, reasoning, imagination, can occur seamlessly. Even subtle variations in myelination can influence perception, reaction time, and cognitive flexibility, demonstrating that the unseen architecture of the brain is not a static support system, but a dynamic, responsive framework that shapes experience moment by moment. In addition, the brain's secret architects operate across multiple scales simultaneously. Microstructures within neurons interact with glial cells at local levels, while long-range networks coordinate activity across entire hemispheres. These hidden networks are responsible for the brain's remarkable ability to integrate information, adapt to new environments, and solve problems with elegance and efficiency. The interplay between microscopic and macroscopic structures creates a fractal-like harmony. Local processes support global cognition, while distant patterns inform local refinements. The result is a mind capable of extraordinary feats: abstract reasoning, emotional nuance, complex social understanding, built upon a foundation that is largely invisible, yet profoundly powerful. Consider the implications of this hidden architecture on human potential. The unseen forces that shape thought are constantly interacting with experience, environment, and internal chemistry. Learning, memory, creativity, and intuition do not emerge solely from conscious effort. They are deeply influenced by the silent work of glial cells, the adaptive remodeling of microstructures, and the coordination of vast neural networks. Moments of insight, inspiration, or problem-solving may feel spontaneous, yet they are often the product of these hidden architects working tirelessly in the background, integrating signals, pruning excess, and reinforcing patterns that allow cognition to flourish. In this sense, the brain is not merely a collection of neurons, but a living, adaptive system, designed and maintained by forces that rarely receive recognition, yet are essential to every thought and sensation. Moreover, the microstructures and networks of the brain interact in ways that remain largely mysterious. Synaptic plasticity, the ability of connections to strengthen or weaken based on experience, is influenced not only by neural activity, but also by glial signaling, chemical gradients, and local microenvironments. This multi-layered interplay ensures that the brain is both resilient and adaptable, capable of learning from experience while maintaining the stability necessary for coherent thought. It is a reminder that cognition is not a simple process of cause and effect, but a delicate orchestration of countless components, each influencing the other in subtle, intricate ways, producing the seamless experience of consciousness that we often take for granted. The poetic beauty of the brain's secret architects lies not only in their function, but in their hidden artistry. The growth of dendritic spines, the pruning of microglia, the coordination of long-range networks, all create a structure that is simultaneously efficient and elegant, adaptive yet precise. Like a hidden city operating beneath the surface, these networks support life, perception, and thought, yet remain largely invisible to the conscious mind. Their silent work underscores a profound truth. Much of what we experience as cognition, creativity, and insight is guided not by will alone, but by the quiet orchestration of forces beyond immediate perception. This hidden scaffolding also provides a window into the brain's potential for healing and adaptation. After injury or stress, glial cells and microstructures reorganize, forming new connections and supporting recovery. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reshape itself, is mediated not only by neurons but by the intricate support systems that guide growth, repair, and refinement. In this way, the secret architects of the mind demonstrate both resilience and intelligence, ensuring that cognition is maintained and optimized even in the face of challenge. It is a quiet miracle of biology and design, revealing a depth of complexity that continues to inspire awe and curiosity. The unseen forces that shape thought extend beyond the biological into the experiential. Environmental input, learning, stress, and sensory experience all interact with glial networks and microstructures to influence perception, memory, and behavior. Even fleeting experiences, an evocative scent, a visual pattern, a whispered tone, can ripple through these hidden networks, subtly reshaping connectivity and affecting cognition. In this sense, the brain is not only a product of internal architecture, but a responsive organism, continually molded by interaction with the world, guided by forces both visible and invisible, known and mysterious. Ultimately, the brain's secret architects invite us to reconsider the nature of thought itself. Conscious reasoning, creative insight, and emotional experience arise not from neurons alone, but from the collaborative, adaptive, and largely invisible work of glial cells. Microstructures and complex networks, every sensation, every memory, every idea emerges from this silent architecture, sculpted by forces that are unseen yet undeniably powerful. The brain is a living testament to the hidden artistry of biology, a poetic interplay of structure and function, of support and expression, shaping experience in ways both profound and subtle. As we conclude our exploration of these secret architects, we are left with a sense of quiet awe. The brain is not merely an organ, but a masterpiece, a city of silent laborers, hidden networks, and microstructures working in harmony to produce consciousness, thought, and insight. Each neuron, each glial cell, each microconnection contributes to the symphony of cognition, creating the seamless experience of self and perception. And yet, despite centuries of study, so much remains hidden, suggesting that the brain's deepest mysteries may reside not in the signals we can measure, but in the silent poetic work of the architects that make thought possible. The next journey awaits beyond this architectural wonder, moving into the realm of perception and attention, where the mind's hidden currents filter reality, sculpt awareness, and reveal even more of the brain's secret capacities. The unseen forces of cognition continue their silent work, guiding us toward understanding, insight, and the quiet marvel of being aware, fully immersed in the subtle orchestration of the mind's invisible architects. Step gently into the shadowed corridors of the mind, where experiences that once felt unbearable continue to whisper long after their initial impact. Trauma, often understood as an event or series of events that overwhelm the individual, leaves an indelible imprint not only on memory, but on thought, perception, and behavior. These echoes of trauma are rarely visible to the outside observer, quietly influencing how the brain processes information, reacts to stress, and interprets social and environmental cues. They shape identity in subtle and profound ways, molding responses and decisions in patterns that feel instinctive, yet are deeply rooted in past experience. It is here, in the silent aftermath of suffering, that the mind reveals both its fragility and its astonishing capacity for adaptation, memory, and reflection. Trauma imprints itself on the brain at multiple levels, from the molecular to the behavioral. The amygdala, responsible for processing fear and threat, becomes hyperactive, responding more readily to perceived danger and heightening emotional sensitivity. The hippocampus, which encodes contextual and spatial memory, can be altered, creating fragmented recollections that surface unpredictably in conscious thought or in dreams. The prefrontal cortex, tasked with decision-making and emotional regulation, may function differently under the influence of traumatic stress, affecting attention, impulse control, and the ability to plan or respond rationally. These neurobiological changes are subtle yet pervasive, creating internal landscapes where perception and reaction are quietly guided by memories of pain, loss, or fear. Trauma also leaves its mark in the patterns of thought that dominate everyday experience. A person may repeatedly replay past events, anticipating danger where none exists, or experience intrusive thoughts that emerge without warning. Even subtle triggers, an unexpected sound, a glance, a phrase, can resurrect echoes of past distress, influencing emotion and behavior without conscious recognition. These cognitive echoes remind us that memory is not merely a record of events, but an active force shaping ongoing experience. The brain's wiring itself becomes a reflection of trauma, with neural pathways sensitized to react in ways that preserve survival, yet often at the expense of ease and emotional stability. Beyond the neurological, trauma reaches into the realm of selfhood and identity. The way we understand ourselves, the stories we tell about who we are and what we are capable of, is often shaped by past suffering. Trauma can impose constraints, limiting perceived possibilities, or coloring self-perception with fear, shame, or guilt. Yet it can also reveal resilience, revealing the quiet strength that emerges from confronting and navigating adversity. In this interplay of limitation and potential, the mind demonstrates its capacity for both vulnerability and adaptation, suggesting that identity is not fixed, but an evolving narrative sculpted by experiences stored deep within the subconscious. Emotional memory, a cornerstone of trauma's influence, operates independently of conscious recollection. Even when explicit memory fades, implicit emotional memory persists, subtly guiding responses and shaping perception. A person may feel unease in seemingly neutral situations, respond with disproportionate fear, or experience joy with heightened intensity, all influenced by the emotional residues of past events. These unconscious echoes illustrate how trauma becomes embedded not only in narrative memory, but in the very machinery of the brain, influencing cognition, affect, and behavior in ways that often remain invisible yet profoundly real. Sleep, too, bears the imprint of trauma. Nightmares, vivid dreams, or disrupted sleep patterns are common manifestations, reflecting the brain's ongoing attempt to process and integrate distressing experiences. REM sleep, where emotional and procedural memory is consolidated, can be particularly affected, leading to recurrent dreams or the persistent replay of traumatic events. In this nocturnal processing, the brain may attempt to reconcile past trauma with present experience, yet the process is rarely linear or complete. The result is a mind that carries echoes of pain even during rest, a subtle reminder that trauma is not confined to conscious awareness, but permeates multiple levels of neural and psychological function. Trauma also influences social perception and behavior. Individuals who have experienced profound stress or adversity may exhibit heightened sensitivity to social cues, altered trust, or protective behaviors that appear inexplicable to others. These patterns are adaptive in the context of past experience, yet they can create challenges in present relationships. The brain, shaped by trauma, operates with heightened vigilance, constantly evaluating the environment for threat, guidance, or opportunity. This constant monitoring demonstrates the hidden intelligence of the mind, which prioritizes survival and adaptation, even as it quietly shapes self-perception, interpersonal behavior, and emotional regulation. Memory itself is transformed by trauma, often in ways that challenge the boundaries between past and present. Traumatic memories can be fragmented, stored in sensory or emotional fragments rather than coherent narrative sequences. These memories may resurface unexpectedly, triggered by associative cues that reconnect the individual with the original experience. The brain's encoding of trauma is therefore nonlinear, episodic, and deeply entwined with emotion, creating a subtle but persistent influence on thought and behavior. In this way, trauma is not only a historical record, but an active force in shaping ongoing cognition and perception, a quiet architect of identity that operates beneath conscious awareness. Yet within these echoes lies a paradoxical potential. Trauma can foster heightened awareness, empathy, and creativity, revealing aspects of cognition that remain dormant in less challenged minds. The very networks sensitized by trauma may also facilitate profound insight, intuition, and emotional resonance, allowing the individual to navigate complex social, emotional, or moral landscapes with unique perceptual acuity. In this sense, the hidden influence of trauma is neither purely destructive nor wholly deterministic. It is a force that shapes perception, thought, and selfhood, creating patterns of behavior that are adaptive, instructive, and deeply human. Cultural and environmental context also plays a role in how trauma manifests. Collective experiences of adversity, war, displacement, systemic oppression interact with individual neurobiology, producing layers of influence that shape cognition, identity, and emotional experience. Generational transmission of trauma, mediated through both biological and social mechanisms, further illustrates the profound reach of these hidden echoes. The brain carries not only the individual imprint of trauma, but also the collective memory, encoded in subtle patterns of thought, behavior, and physiological response. These echoes form a complex web, connecting personal experience with larger narratives of history and culture, suggesting that trauma is both deeply personal and expansively communal. In examining the influence of trauma, one is confronted with profound philosophical questions. To what extent is identity shaped by past suffering? How much of thought, behavior, and perception is guided by unseen echoes of experiences long past? Can the self ever be disentangled from these hidden forces, or does consciousness inherently carry the imprints of memory, emotion, and adaptation? The mind's capacity for resilience, reflection, and growth is illuminated precisely against the backdrop of trauma, highlighting both vulnerability and the astonishing potential for recovery and transformation. Therapeutic interventions, mindfulness, and reflective practices demonstrate the brain's capacity to reorganize and integrate traumatic experience. By bringing awareness to these hidden influences, individuals may access the silent narratives of the subconscious, allowing for reframing, processing, and healing. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to remodel itself, underscores the potential for recovery. Even deeply ingrained echoes of trauma can be reshaped, attenuated or integrated into coherent narratives that support identity, emotional regulation, and cognitive flexibility. This interplay between hidden influence and conscious intervention reveals the remarkable adaptability of the human mind, even in the face of profound challenge. The somber truth of trauma is thus inseparable from the awe-inspiring complexity of the brain. It shapes perception, emotion, and selfhood in ways that are subtle, pervasive, and enduring. The echoes of past suffering linger quietly, guiding responses, coloring interpretation, and influencing cognition without conscious acknowledgement. Yet within these echoes lies the potential for insight, resilience, and transformation, demonstrating that the mind is neither a passive repository of pain nor a static witness to experience. It is a dynamic, adaptive system capable of carrying the weight of trauma while also generating growth, understanding, and profound self-awareness. Even the smallest gestures, thoughts, or perceptions may carry the imprint of past trauma. The choice to avoid a situation, the instinct to protect, the sudden emotional resonance with a stranger's story, all may trace back to hidden neural pathways sculpted by prior experience. In this subtle interplay of memory, emotion, and perception, identity emerges as a dynamic construct, continuously shaped by both conscious reflection and the quiet orchestration of the subconscious. Trauma, though often perceived as destructive, is also a teacher, revealing the complexity of the brain's responses, the interconnection of memory and emotion, and the hidden architecture of selfhood. As we leave this somber exploration, it becomes clear that trauma is both invisible and ever-present, silently guiding thought, shaping perception, and influencing identity. The brain, in its quiet sophistication, retains these echoes as part of its intricate network of cognition and memory. To understand trauma is to glimpse the hidden depth of human experience, the subtle forces that mold behavior, emotion, and self-perception. These echoes remind us that the mind is a living archive of experience, capable of carrying both pain and wisdom, and that the journey toward understanding, healing, and self-awareness is both intimate and profound. The next chapter awaits, leading us from the shadows of trauma into the luminous domain of imagination and creativity, where the brain's unseen forces transform thought, memory, and emotion into the rich tapestry of human experience. In this progression, the mind continues to reveal its hidden capacities, balancing shadow and light, memory and innovation, instinct and reflection, in the endless unfolding of consciousness. Step carefully into the quiet, shadowed recesses of the mind, where the sense of control we cling to so desperately begins to unravel. Every day we act with conviction, believing that our choices are the product of deliberate thought, careful reasoning, and conscious intent. Yet beneath this veneer of autonomy lies a labyrinth of subconscious processes, hidden biases, and unseen influences that quietly steer decision-making. The brain, in its silent efficiency, often acts before awareness catches up, guiding perception, preference, and behavior through currents that are largely invisible. What we perceive as control may, in fact, be an elaborate illusion, a carefully constructed narrative in which consciousness takes credit for choices initiated elsewhere. Our decisions are shaped by an intricate dance of neural networks, many of which operate outside conscious awareness. Subtle cues, environmental context, prior experiences, and emotional residues converge to produce outcomes that feel voluntary but are often guided by subconscious computation. From the selection of a meal to the acceptance of a new idea, these hidden processes weigh probabilities, evaluate past patterns, and integrate countless inputs in milliseconds. Awareness emerges after these computations, giving the impression of deliberate choice, when in truth the mind has already charted a path. The unsettling realization is that the feeling of control may be a post hoc rationalization, a story the conscious mind tells itself to reconcile action with identity. Bias, both conscious and unconscious, is a core force in this hidden architecture. Neural networks store and retrieve patterns based on experience, and these patterns can skew perception and judgment without conscious recognition. Confirmation bias, implicit associations, and selective attention shape how information is interpreted, often favoring pre-existing beliefs and emotional tendencies. The brain filters reality according to these internal scripts, creating a version of experience that reinforces identity, expectation, and survival instincts. In this context, control is never absolute. It is a negotiated construct, mediated by forces invisible to awareness, yet profoundly determinative of thought and action. Subtle manipulations, both external and internal, exploit these hidden biases. Advertising, social influence, and persuasive communication leverage neural predispositions, subtly guiding attention, desire, and decision-making. Even the design of physical spaces, the arrangement of objects, the flow of light, the rhythm of sound, can alter mood and behavior without conscious recognition. Internally, the mind reinforces these patterns, drawing upon emotional residues, memory traces, and instinctive heuristics to align decisions with perceived norms or self-concept. We are in many ways passengers in our own cognition, guided by hidden currents that shape perception, preference, and choice long before we are aware of them. The illusion of control extends deeply into moral and social judgment. Decisions about right and wrong, fairness and trust are influenced by neural and emotional processes that operate beneath conscious reflection. Moral intuitions, often experienced as immediate and indisputable, arise from rapid computations in brain regions such as the ventromedial prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, integrating social cues, personal history, and emotional evaluation. Deliberation may follow, providing justification, narrative coherence, and conscious endorsement of the decision. Yet the initial impetus is unconscious, highlighting the subtle ways in which hidden forces guide not only action, but the sense of self as an agent of morality and choice. Even complex decision-making is subject to these invisible currents. In situations involving strategy, planning, or risk assessment, the subconscious mind constantly evaluates probabilities, recalls analogous experiences, and simulates outcomes, often generating a solution before conscious thought has fully engaged. The conscious mind then reviews, endorses, or refines this solution, creating a sense of deliberate mastery. This process illustrates the mind's remarkable efficiency, but also its quiet deception. Control is layered, emergent, and contingent upon mechanisms that remain largely hidden from awareness. The brain acts as both author and editor, producing the narrative of autonomy, while operating behind the scenes with subtle precision. Emotions, too, influence decision-making in ways that undermine the illusion of conscious control. Fear, desire, attachment, and aversion guide attention, shape memory retrieval, and bias judgment. Even brief, imperceptible fluctuations in mood can shift choices, altering perception and response without conscious recognition. The brain integrates these emotional signals seamlessly, producing decisions that feel rational while being heavily colored by affective currents. In this sense, the notion of purely rational control is a fiction. Cognition is inseparable from emotion, and awareness is but one player in the orchestra of influence that determines thought and action. Subconscious patterns also govern habits, routines, and automatic behaviors. Repeated actions are encoded in neural circuits that operate with minimal conscious oversight, allowing efficiency but reducing autonomy. Driving a familiar route, typing words on a keyboard, or responding to social cues are all mediated by networks that have learned from prior experience, requiring little deliberation. The sense of choice exists, yet it is constrained by the pre-established architecture of learned behavior. Habits, like invisible scaffolding, channel cognition and action along predetermined pathways, reinforcing the perception of control while subtly circumscribing it. The unsettling dimension of the illusion of control becomes most apparent when examining influence from forces outside the self. Social expectations, cultural norms, and technological mediation act as hidden architects guiding thought, shaping perception, and structuring the available options. Even language itself constrains cognition, framing thought through syntax, metaphor, and convention. The conscious mind, believing in its autonomy, is continuously responding to these subtle cues, negotiating decisions in a context pre-shaped by external and internal influences. The sense of agency is preserved, yet the reality is one of interdependence, influence, and quiet manipulation. Moreover, the brain actively constructs narratives to reconcile behavior with identity, creating coherence from complexity. Cognitive dissonance, rationalization, and selective memory function as mechanisms by which the mind retrofits action to align with self-perception. We believe we act freely because our subconscious provides compelling stories that frame choices as deliberate, intentional, and aligned with personal values. Yet these narratives often obscure the hidden currents that drove the behavior in the first place, maintaining the illusion of control while masking the influence of bias, habit, emotion, and unseen patterns. Decision-making, in its everyday and extraordinary forms, is therefore a tapestry woven from threads of subconscious computation, emotional resonance, learned patterns, social context, and reflective justification. The conscious mind participates, yes, but often as a witness rather than an originator. The feeling of agency is real in its phenomenology, yet the underlying forces are distributed, multi-layered, and largely inaccessible. Understanding this dynamic is both unsettling and illuminating. It reveals the mind as a sophisticated system capable of incredible adaptability, insight, and foresight, yet operating under the influence of forces that evade direct awareness. Philosophical implications emerge from this unsettling awareness. If much of behavior and thought arises from hidden mechanisms, what does this mean for moral responsibility, identity, and free will? Are we the authors of our choices, or are we the narrators of decisions orchestrated by hidden cognitive architects? These questions do not yield easy answers, but they illuminate the extraordinary complexity of human cognition. Control, it seems, is a dance between consciousness and the unseen, a delicate balance in which perception of autonomy may coexist with profound subconscious guidance. Subtle awareness of these dynamics, however, can alter how we navigate the world. By recognizing patterns, reflecting on biases, and cultivating mindfulness, individuals may increase the extent to which conscious intent influences behavior. Yet even here the invisible currents remain, guiding, nudging, and shaping the architecture of thought in ways that are both subtle and persistent. The interplay of awareness and subconscious influence is dynamic, a continuous negotiation in which perception of control is intertwined with the quiet orchestration of hidden forces. The illusion of control extends to memory, perception, and the very interpretation of reality. Decisions we believe to be deliberate are informed by prior experience, environmental cues, and unconscious evaluation. Even preferences, from the food we eat to the beliefs we hold, are subtly influenced by networks of thought operating below conscious awareness. Recognizing this challenges deeply held assumptions about autonomy and selfhood, revealing that consciousness is both empowered and constrained by the hidden mechanisms that govern cognition. In the unsettling quiet of reflection, it becomes apparent that control is not absolute but emergent, layered and mediated by forces we rarely perceive. Every choice, every judgment, every impulse is influenced by the interplay of neural computation, emotional resonance, habitual patterns, and social context. Conscious awareness may take credit, yet the hidden architects of thought, the subconscious, the neural networks, the intricate interplay of bias and habit, operate with quiet efficiency, shaping experience in ways that are both profound and imperceptible. The mind's subtle orchestration reminds us that reality, as perceived through cognition, is a negotiated construct. The sense of control, so central to identity and agency, is simultaneously authentic in feeling and deceptive in origin. Understanding this duality offers both unease and insight, revealing the extraordinary sophistication of the brain and the hidden currents that guide perception, thought, and behavior. It is a reminder that consciousness is never a solitary actor, but part of a vast layered system, navigating the interplay of seen and unseen forces, shaping the dance of autonomy, influence, and hidden design. As we move forward from the unsettling realization of the illusion of control, the mind remains a landscape of mystery, where hidden mechanisms guide action, perception, and thought, setting the stage for the next revelation, the secret architectures of memory, imagination, and the hidden potentials of cognition. Awareness of these currents invites curiosity, humility, and wonder as we explore the depths of the brain's influence beyond conscious awareness, uncovering the intricate, invisible forces that quietly shape the experience of being human. Step quietly into the resonant chambers of the mind, where the invisible architecture of thought meets the fluid artistry of perception, and where the subtle vibrations of sound and rhythm stir hidden neural patterns in ways both mysterious and profound. Music and art have long been a source of fascination, not only for their beauty, but for their uncanny ability to penetrate the subconscious, stirring emotions, memories, and even physiological responses that evade conscious control. Within the brain, these experiences are not merely aesthetic, they are dynamic, activating networks of neurons, glial cells, and microstructures in patterns that echo ancient evolutionary processes, as if the mind itself is attuned to a symphony composed over millennia. When a single note is struck, the brain responds almost instantaneously, orchestrating activity across multiple regions simultaneously. Auditory cortex processes the sound, temporal lobes interpret melody and rhythm, and deeper structures, including the limbic system, respond to the emotional content of the music. But beyond these obvious activations, hidden networks respond subtly yet profoundly. Dendritic spines adjust, microglia modulate synaptic activity, and the glial scaffolding shifts to accommodate new patterns. The brain's response is not passive. It is an active, dynamic resonance, suggesting that music does more than entertain. It molds neural architecture, evoking hidden responses that shape cognition, emotion, and even identity in ways we barely perceive. Art, similarly, engages the mind in ways that transcend the visual experience. The perception of form, color, and movement activates networks associated with emotion, memory, and conceptual processing. The brain integrates sensory input with stored patterns, past experiences, and emotional resonances, creating a rich tapestry of perception that feels immediate yet is informed by hidden neural computations. Each brushstroke, each interplay of light and shadow, each subtle detail interacts with the subconscious, evoking responses that may be deeply personal, yet also surprisingly universal. It is as if the mind carries an ancient hidden sensitivity, finely tuned to patterns, symmetry, and aesthetic resonance, capable of generating profound emotional experiences even from the simplest stimuli. Music and art also influence the brain on a physiological level. Rhythmic patterns can synchronize neural oscillations, modulating attention, arousal, and emotional state. Slow, steady rhythms may calm the autonomic nervous system, reducing heart rate and lowering stress hormones, while fast or dissonant rhythms can provoke heightened alertness or tension. The brain is not a passive receiver. It actively interprets, predicts, and internalizes these patterns, aligning its internal rhythms with external stimuli. This synchronization suggests an ancient neural mechanism, evolved to detect patterns, anticipate movement, and respond adaptively to environmental cues, now co-opted by human culture into music, dance, and artistic expression. Beyond the immediate neural effects, music and art interact with memory and identity in profound ways. Familiar songs or visual motifs can evoke vivid recollections, transporting the listener or observer to moments long past. These experiences often bypass conscious effort, engaging the hippocampus, amygdala, and associative cortical networks in ways that blend memory, emotion, and perception seamlessly. Even abstract art or novel music can evoke deep emotional resonance, suggesting that the brain possesses latent sensitivities and interpretive frameworks that respond to pattern, symmetry, and rhythm with astonishing subtlety. These hidden responses are ancient, encoded over countless generations, hinting at evolutionary origins in communication, social cohesion, or environmental awareness. The poetry of neural response is also reflected in creativity. Exposure to music and art can enhance divergent thinking, stimulate imaginative problem-solving, and trigger intuitive insight. The hidden library of the subconscious, the repository of latent knowledge, memory, and experience, is activated when the mind encounters beauty, complexity, or unexpected patterns. Synaptic connections may be strengthened, dendritic spines may adjust, and microcircuits may realign, facilitating the emergence of novel ideas and associations. In this way, art and music act not merely as stimuli but as catalysts for the unfolding of hidden potential, unlocking capacities that are otherwise dormant in the conscious mind. Even emotional regulation is profoundly affected by artistic experience. The limbic system, which governs emotion, interacts with prefrontal regions to integrate effective responses with conscious appraisal. Music and art can modulate these interactions, attenuating anxiety, elevating mood, or evoking cathartic release. The effects are subtle yet enduring, suggesting that the brain possesses intricate hidden mechanisms for integrating sensory experience, memory, and emotion. These mechanisms operate largely outside conscious awareness, orchestrating responses that are felt as intuition, resonance, or instinctive pleasure, yet are grounded in sophisticated neural computations. There is also an ancient, almost mystical dimension to these responses. Across cultures and epochs, humans have used music, rhythm, and visual art in rituals, ceremonies, and storytelling. These practices often induce trance-like states, heightened awareness, or collective synchronization, hinting at neural mechanisms evolved to respond to coordinated patterns of sensory input. Mirror neurons, predictive coding, and synchronized oscillatory activity may underlie these effects, yet their subjective experience is deeply poetic. The brain, it seems, retains ancestral sensitivities that resonate with rhythm, harmony, and aesthetic structure, linking cognition to culture, emotion, and social cohesion in ways that are as mysterious as they are profound. The hidden patterns of neural activity evoked by art and music also suggest a connection to imagination and creativity. When listening to a haunting melody or observing a surreal painting, the brain engages networks associated with mental simulation, narrative construction, and emotional processing. These activations may evoke scenarios that never occurred, feelings that are novel, and ideas that have no immediate basis in the external world. Imagination, in this sense, is a dance of hidden neural currents, guided by the interplay of sensory input, memory, and latent patterns encoded in the brain's architecture. Art and music are keys that unlock these currents, revealing the deep, intricate potentials of cognition that lie beyond the reach of ordinary conscious thought. The interplay of conscious and subconscious processing is particularly evident when aesthetic experiences evoke paradoxical or ambiguous emotions. A minor chord may evoke sadness yet feel beautiful. A chaotic painting may provoke unease yet fascination. These experiences highlight the complexity of neural integration, where multiple networks, cognitive, emotional, and perceptual, interact in subtle, sometimes contradictory ways. The conscious mind experiences the outcome as emotion or reflection, yet the underlying orchestration involves hidden patterns of excitation, inhibition, and modulation across countless microcircuits and glial interactions. This intricate ballet suggests that the brain's response to art is not a simple stimulus response chain, but a multi-layered, dynamic process that merges perception, memory, emotion, and latent knowledge into a unified, yet endlessly complex experience. Ancient neural mechanisms may also explain why music and art evoke a sense of universality. Certain intervals, rhythms, or visual proportions are consistently found to elicit similar responses across cultures, hinting at deeply embedded sensitivities in the human brain. These responses may have evolved to enhance social cohesion, coordinate group behavior, or facilitate communication. Yet in contemporary experience, these mechanisms manifest as the profound emotional resonance of a symphony, the awe evoked by a painting, or the intuition inspired by a dance. The hidden architecture of the brain interacts with cultural expression, producing experiences that feel personal, timeless, and ineffably powerful, revealing a continuity between biology, psychology, and human creativity that spans millennia. Even silence within music and pauses within visual composition carries weight. The brain anticipates patterns, predicts continuation, and responds when expectations are violated or fulfilled. This predictive processing engages hidden networks that constantly evaluate probability, surprise, and pattern coherence. A pause in music, an empty space in a painting, a subtle deviation in rhythm can elicit heightened attention, emotional resonance, or insight. The brain's hidden responsiveness to such nuanced cues underscores its sophistication, suggesting that perception is an active, predictive, and integrative process, influenced by hidden architectures that shape the experience of beauty, tension, and resolution. In this intricate interaction between stimulus and response, the brain's hidden capacities are revealed. Creativity, intuition, and emotional resonance are not solely products of conscious effort, but emerge from the dynamic interplay of sensory input, memory, latent neural patterns, and ancient sensitivities embedded in microstructures and glial networks. Music and art serve as bridges to these hidden potentials, activating neural currents that are normally quiet, refining perception and evoking insight. The experience is simultaneously personal and universal, conscious and subconscious, ephemeral and enduring, reflecting the poetic depth of cognition and the subtle orchestration of the mind's architecture. Ultimately, the music of thought is not merely metaphorical. Neural oscillations, rhythmic patterns of excitation and inhibition, and coordinated activity across brain regions literally mirror aspects of musical structure. The brain resonates with rhythm, harmony, and pattern, reflecting the fundamental interconnectedness of perception, cognition, and aesthetic experience. Each encounter with art or music becomes a dialogue between hidden networks and conscious awareness, between ancient mechanisms and contemporary experience, revealing that the human brain is attuned to beauty, structure, and subtlety in ways both physiological and poetic. As we leave the resonant halls of this exploration, the mind appears as a living instrument, tuned by evolution, culture, and personal experience, capable of producing profound, transformative experiences through engagement with art, music, and creativity. Hidden neural patterns, microstructures, and glial orchestration work in concert to transform sensory input into emotional and cognitive resonance. The brain's response is simultaneously scientific and mysterious, measurable yet poetic, revealing ancient capacities that continue to shape perception, thought, and identity in ways that defy simple explanation. The next journey awaits into the unseen interplay of memory, perception, and intuition, where the brain's capacity for synthesis, pattern recognition, and hidden insight will reveal even more astonishing truths about the architecture of thought, the shadows of influence, and the boundless potential of consciousness itself. The music of thought continues, echoing softly through neural corridors, inviting reflection, imagination, and awe at the hidden forces shaping every perception, memory, and creative impulse. Step quietly into the winding corridors of perception, where the brain's sense of time unfolds like a river, flowing with subtle currents, eddies, and hidden tributaries that defy simple measurement. Time, as experienced consciously, is not an objective metric but a construct of neural processes, an intricate interplay of perception, memory, attention, and expectation. In ordinary moments, seconds seem to tick evenly, hours pass predictably, and the rhythm of life feels stable. Yet beneath this veneer of order, the brain continuously weaves subjective threads of temporal experience, stretching, compressing, or fracturing the perception of duration in ways that are both astonishing and unsettling. What we perceive as linear time is, in truth, a mosaic of microseconds, anticipatory signals, and memory echoes, each contributing to the illusion of continuity, coherence, and control. Trauma demonstrates the malleability of temporal perception with haunting clarity. In moments of extreme stress or fear, seconds can dilate into hours, and a single incident may be etched into memory with exaggerated vividness, as if the mind refuses to release its hold. The amygdala, hyperactive in response to threat, amplifies sensory input, while the hippocampus encodes fragmented, emotionally charged sequences. Time in this context becomes elastic, compressing some memories, stretching others, and creating an internal chronology that diverges sharply from objective reality. Survivors may recount experiences where a moment of danger felt infinite, where seconds contained entire lifetimes of sensation, highlighting the profound impact of hidden neural architectures on temporal experience. Meditation, in contrast, reveals the brain's capacity to compress, dissolve, or even suspend conventional time. Practices that focus attention, cultivate mindfulness, or modulate breathing can shift the experience of duration, creating moments of timelessness or deep immersion. Functional imaging suggests that neural networks governing attention, interoception, and sensory integration adjust their activity, altering the perception of sequence, continuity, and self-reference. The brain in these altered states demonstrates an astonishing flexibility, capable of transcending ordinary temporal constraints, revealing a hidden landscape where time is not fixed but fluid, subjective, and intimately tied to consciousness. Even everyday experiences reflect subtle temporal distortions. The brain predicts sequences of events, anticipates outcomes, and aligns perception with expected duration. When these predictions are violated, through surprise, novelty, or dissonance, time can feel slowed, elongated, or fractured. Attention, expectation, and memory converge to shape the felt experience of duration, suggesting that the brain's temporal perception is an active construction rather than a passive observation. Each moment is stitched together from milliseconds of sensation, echoes of past experience, and projections of the immediate future, revealing the hidden choreography of neural circuits that makes time comprehensible, navigable, and meaningful. The perception of time is intimately tied to consciousness itself. Temporal awareness relies on the integration of sensory input, memory, and prediction across distributed networks. The cerebellum, basal ganglia, and cortical circuits coordinate to estimate intervals, anticipate sequences, and synchronize action with expectation. These mechanisms operate largely outside awareness, creating a continuous, coherent experience of passage that the conscious mind assumes to be external and absolute. Yet, as trauma and meditation reveal, this coherence is fragile, susceptible to alteration by emotion, attention, and physiological state. The brain is not a mere clock. It is a dynamic interpreter of temporal flow, continuously reconstructing and contextualizing the passage of time. Dreams provide another window into the malleability of temporal perception. In REM sleep, sequences of events can unfold with nonlinear logic, compressing hours into seconds or expanding minutes into lifetimes. The hippocampus and neocortex collaborate to generate narratives that feel temporally coherent within the dream, yet defy linear reality. This nocturnal construction suggests that temporal perception is a flexible cognitive tool, adaptable to the brain's needs for consolidation, integration, and exploration. Dreams are laboratories where the hidden currents of time are revealed, offering glimpses into the brain's capacity to manipulate experience, memory, and anticipation in ways that surpass waking awareness. The interplay of attention and memory further shapes the perception of time. When focused intensely on a task, moments may seem to pass unnoticed. When bored or anxious, time drags. Neural networks associated with attention, salience, and working memory interact with the default mode network to contextualize the passage of moments. Each event is encoded relative to emotional intensity, expectation, and personal relevance. Time is thus elastic, bending to the subjective weight of experience. The hidden architecture of the mind, operating largely beneath conscious awareness, dictates whether an hour feels fleeting or interminable, whether a memory of childhood spans centuries or flashes briefly. Trauma, meditation, and intense emotional experience suggest that temporal perception is not merely subjective, but intimately linked to the architecture of identity. Memories of trauma distort chronology, creating loops of recollection that intrude on the present. Meditation expands awareness beyond sequential constraints, allowing a sense of timeless presence. The brain navigates these experiences by engaging circuits responsible for attention, memory, and interoception, integrating sensory input, bodily states, and emotional evaluation to create the felt flow of time. These mechanisms highlight the profound plasticity of temporal experience and suggest that reality itself is modulated by neural processes that remain largely hidden from conscious awareness. Even the sense of causality is intertwined with temporal perception. The brain constructs sequences of events, linking cause and effect to create coherent narratives. When temporal flow is disrupted, through trauma, altered states, or perceptual anomalies, causality can feel uncertain, fragile, or malleable. This subtle manipulation of reality, emergent from the interplay of neural circuits, attention, and expectation, suggests that our perception of what is real is contingent upon hidden temporal architectures. The mind's orchestration of past, present, and anticipated future not only structures experience, but shapes belief, expectation, and action. The neurochemical milieu of the brain also modulates temporal experience. Neurotransmitters such as dopamine influence the perception of intervals and the anticipation of outcomes, while stress hormones like cortisol amplify the salience of threatening events, elongating the perception of danger. These chemical signals interact with neural oscillations, attention networks, and memory circuits to create the subjective experience of duration. The brain's hidden responsiveness to biochemical state underscores that temporal perception is not a static property of consciousness, but a dynamic process. Intertwined with physiology, cognition, and emotion, time in its subjective experience also intersects with creativity and imagination. Artists, composers, and writers often report altered temporal awareness, entering states where hours collapse into minutes or ideas emerge in rapid succession. These states may reflect optimized coordination between attention, memory, and associative networks, allowing the brain to explore connections across temporal and conceptual space. Hidden neural currents, including oscillatory synchronization and microstructural dynamics, facilitate this expansion of temporal and cognitive bandwidth, revealing how subjective time can be harnessed for creativity, insight, and imaginative exploration. The contemplation of temporal malleability invites philosophical reflection. If time is constructed by the brain, what does this mean for our understanding of reality? Are the past and future merely projections of neural activity, filtered through emotion, memory, and expectation? How much of what we perceive as the continuity of experience is a narrative created by hidden networks, microstructures, and chemical interactions? These questions challenge assumptions about objectivity, free will, and selfhood, highlighting that consciousness navigates a temporal landscape that is simultaneously real, subjective, and emergent. Moreover, the brain's capacity to distort and manipulate temporal perception suggests that reality itself is never fully fixed. Subjective experience of duration, sequence, and causality is shaped by internal states, attention, memory, and expectation. Trauma, meditation, and deep emotional engagement reveal the fragility and plasticity of this perception, exposing the hidden architecture that allows consciousness to navigate, interpret, and occasionally transcend the ordinary flow of time. The mind's veined structure of temporal processing, woven from neural circuits, glial networks, and microstructural dynamics, creates a subtle, ever-shifting tapestry of experience, revealing the interplay of biology, cognition, and phenomenology. Even as we move through ordinary life, the brain continuously calibrates temporal perception. Subconscious predictions, memory retrieval, and attentional focus interact to shape every moment, from the mundane to the extraordinary. Hidden neural architects monitor sequences, anticipate outcomes, and integrate emotional valence, creating a continuous, coherent experience of duration. Yet awareness of this orchestration reveals a profound truth. The flow of time is both constructed and experienced, both objective in measurement and profoundly subjective in perception, highlighting the astonishing sophistication and subtlety of the brain's hidden design. In contemplating the veins of time, one begins to glimpse the mind's capacity for reality manipulation. Perception of duration, sequence, and causality is elastic, influenced by trauma, meditation, attention, and emotional state. The brain constructs a narrative continuity that feels real, yet it is continuously recalibrated by hidden networks operating below conscious awareness. Memory, anticipation, and emotion converge to sculpt the flow of experience, suggesting that reality itself is an emergent property of neural architecture, a delicate interplay of biology, cognition, and perception. As we prepare to leave the contemplative, surreal exploration of temporal perception, the mind emerges as a terrain of hidden currents, veins of time that carry the echoes of past experience, the anticipation of future events, and the malleable present of consciousness. These currents foreshadow the brain's ability to manipulate reality, memory, and perception, revealing a landscape where experience is both constructed and fluid, where hidden neural architectures shape not only thought, but the very sense of existence. Time, as the brain perceives it, is a living, shifting river, guiding identity, awareness, and understanding, inviting reflection on the subtle, profound, and endlessly mysterious forces that govern the flow of consciousness. Step carefully into the dimly lit corridors of modern neuroscience, where the known meets the unspoken, and where the edge of discovery grazes the territory of taboo. Here, in laboratories hidden from public view, scientists push the boundaries of what the human mind is capable of, exploring cognitive abilities and neural processes that mainstream publications rarely acknowledge. These experiments tread a shadowy line between revelation and secrecy, unveiling phenomena that challenge our understanding of consciousness, perception, and human potential. The very term forbidden knowledge seems apt, for the discoveries lurking within these hidden studies reveal capabilities that provoke awe, discomfort, and a haunting sense of possibility. At the heart of this shadowed science are the brain's latent cognitive capacities, abilities that operate beneath conscious awareness, waiting for precise conditions to be activated. Some experiments involve sensory integration beyond ordinary perception, such as detecting magnetic fields, subtle vibrations, or near-infrared stimuli. These are not powers of fantasy, but subtle, measurable responses, often emerging only under controlled conditions where attention, expectation, and training align. Researchers have observed that the human brain can, under certain circumstances, detect information and patterns without conscious recognition, hinting at a hidden layer of perception that defies conventional understanding of the senses. Memory manipulation forms another arena of forbidden exploration. Advanced techniques using transcranial stimulation, virtual reality, and carefully calibrated cues can selectively enhance, suppress, or distort recollection. Subjects may vividly remember events that never occurred, forget experiences they once recalled effortlessly, or recombine memories into novel sequences. These interventions reveal that memory is not a static archive, but a dynamic, malleable construct, influenced by microstructural changes in neural networks, synaptic plasticity, and subtle chemical modulation. The implications are profound. Our sense of identity, narrative, and personal history may be more fluid than we dare imagine, contingent upon the unseen architectures of the mind and the deliberate interventions of scientific inquiry. Hidden cognitive abilities extend into perception and pattern recognition. Some individuals, through intense training or natural predisposition, demonstrate capacities for complex statistical reasoning, hyper-empathy, or accelerated learning that exceed typical expectations. These abilities often emerge only when conventional cognitive pathways are bypassed, allowing latent networks to take precedence. Functional imaging suggests that these phenomena involve the recruitment of normally dormant microcircuits, integration across hemispheres, and unique oscillatory patterns. The thrill of these discoveries lies not merely in their rarity, but in their potential to redefine what it means to think, perceive, and understand. Taboos in neuroscience arise not from ethical constraints alone, but from the unsettling implications of these hidden capabilities. If the mind can be guided to perceive beyond ordinary senses, manipulate memory with precision, or unlock latent cognitive faculties, what does this imply about autonomy, free will, and selfhood? These questions hover like shadows over experimental chambers, challenging assumptions about consciousness and identity. Some experiments remain unpublished, not for lack of rigor, but for fear of societal, ethical, or philosophical consequences. The knowledge exists quietly, in the records of laboratories and in the minds of researchers, inaccessible to the wider world, yet tantalizingly close to those who seek to understand the deepest workings of human thought. Neuroplasticity, the brain's remarkable ability to reorganize itself, serves as a gateway to many of these hidden capacities. Microstructural changes, dendritic growth and synaptic rewiring, can be induced not only through experience and learning, but also through targeted interventions, stimulation, and practice. Experiments have demonstrated that even long-standing neural patterns can be altered, unlocking potential for heightened creativity, memory, or perceptual sensitivity. The subtlety of these transformations underscores the hidden complexity of the brain. Every neuron, glial cell and microcircuit participates in a network capable of extraordinary adaptation, much of it invisible to conscious awareness and largely unexplored in public discourse. Sensory augmentation, one of the most thrilling domains of forbidden neuroscience, reveals the brain's adaptability in response to novel input. Experiments with prosthetics, virtual interfaces, and multisensory feedback systems have shown that the brain can incorporate entirely new channels of information, treating them as extensions of its own perception. Subjects trained to see infrared patterns or detect magnetic fluctuations experience a seamless integration, suggesting that human perception is not fixed but expandable. These studies hint at latent capacities that, if properly harnessed, could dramatically extend human experience, revealing a hidden horizon of sensory and cognitive potential that borders on the uncanny. Equally shadowy are studies exploring direct modulation of emotion, attention, and decision-making. Using precise stimulation techniques, researchers have been able to influence neural circuits associated with motivation, fear, and reward, subtly shifting preferences, judgments, or behavior. These interventions illuminate the delicate architecture of the mind, decision-making, moral reasoning, and even self-perception are not purely autonomous, but are shaped by networks that respond to targeted input. The implications are both thrilling and unsettling, suggesting that the boundaries between conscious intention and neural orchestration are far more porous than commonly acknowledged. The exploration of altered states of consciousness forms another vein of forbidden knowledge. Certain meditation practices, sensory deprivation, and pharmacologically induced states reveal cognitive capacities that rarely appear in ordinary experience. Enhanced pattern recognition, accelerated learning, profound emotional insight, and the dissolution of conventional temporal or spatial perception have all been documented under these conditions. The brain, it seems, possesses a reservoir of potential that is normally dormant, activated only under precise circumstances that bypass routine cognitive hierarchies. These discoveries blur the line between ordinary cognition and extraordinary mental function, hinting at latent abilities that lie beyond the familiar boundaries of awareness. Some experiments delve even deeper, investigating communication between individuals beyond the conventional senses. Subtle nonverbal coordination, shared perception, and synchronization of neural activity have been observed in controlled dyadic or group studies, suggesting that the brain may engage in forms of interaction not fully captured by language or behavior. These findings hint at hidden networks of cognition that extend beyond individual minds, revealing capacities for intuitive resonance, empathic alignment, and unconscious synchronization that challenge conventional models of individuality and perception. Ethics and secrecy converge in the realm of forbidden neuroscience. Many of these experiments are not widely publicized due to the potential for misuse, societal panic, or philosophical disquiet. Knowledge of hidden cognitive capacities, memory manipulation, or sensory augmentation could profoundly alter human self-conception, social dynamics, and cultural norms. Researchers must navigate a shadowed ethical terrain, balancing the pursuit of understanding with the responsibility inherent in exploring capacities that could redefine what it means to be human. The very secrecy of these studies adds to their allure, creating a sense of thrilling, shadowy mystery that both excites and unnerves. Furthermore, the intersection of technology and neuroscience amplifies the potential for hidden abilities. Brain-computer interfaces, neural implants, and advanced monitoring tools offer unprecedented access to cognition, memory, and perception. Experiments using these tools suggest that the mind can interact with external systems in ways that extend thought, memory, and action beyond conventional limits. These technologies reveal the brain as not merely a biological organ, but a dynamic, integrative system capable of interfacing with the external world in profound and previously unimaginable ways. The possibilities are exhilarating and fraught with ethical ambiguity, reflecting the shadowy frontier of forbidden knowledge. The thrill of these discoveries lies not only in their novelty, but in their challenge to the ordinary perception of reality. Hidden cognitive capacities, latent neural potential, and unspoken experimental findings suggest that what we perceive as normal consciousness is merely a subset of what the mind is capable of. The brain carries within it extraordinary capacities, silently operating beneath awareness, waiting for the precise conditions to reveal themselves. The shadow of forbidden knowledge invites both curiosity and caution, revealing the delicate interplay between potential, limitation, and the unseen architectures that govern thought and perception. Ultimately, the exploration of forbidden knowledge confronts us with profound philosophical questions. What is the true extent of human potential? How much of thought, memory, and perception remains hidden beneath the surface of awareness? To what degree are our experiences, beliefs, and abilities constrained or guided by latent capacities that science is only beginning to uncover? These questions hover in the shadowed corridors of the mind, urging reflection, exploration, and awe at the complexity, adaptability, and mystery of the brain. The revelations hinted at in these hidden experiments foreshadow even deeper mysteries yet to be uncovered. Neural networks capable of integrating experiences in novel ways, subconscious processes that orchestrate thought and action beyond awareness, and latent faculties that may one day expand human cognition in unimaginable directions. Forbidden knowledge illuminates both the fragility and the extraordinary potential of the mind, a thrilling testament to the hidden capacities that lie dormant within every neural circuit, waiting to be glimpsed, understood, and perhaps one day fully realized. As we leave this shadowy exploration, the mind appears not only as a biological organ, but as a vast landscape of untapped potential, where cutting-edge experiments reveal both the thrill and the danger of knowing too much. Hidden abilities, latent networks and unspoken discoveries beckon from the periphery of consciousness, hinting at a reality far more complex, adaptable, and mysterious than commonly acknowledged. The journey continues, as each revelation opens a door to the next, leading deeper into the hidden architecture of thought, perception, and the untamed potential of the human brain. Step carefully into the hidden corridors of consciousness, where the mind wears masks that conceal depths even from its own awareness. Each person navigates the world under a veneer of social expectation, habit, and self-conception, yet beneath this surface lies a labyrinth of suppressed traits, hidden motivations, and split facets of personality. The brain, in its intricate complexity, supports multiple layers of consciousness, submerged impulses, latent desires, and shadow selves that remain largely inaccessible to deliberate thought. To peer behind the mask is to confront the uncanny reality that identity is neither singular nor fixed, but a dynamic interplay of visible and invisible forces, a theater in which countless actors reside quietly, awaiting opportunity to emerge. The phenomenon of hidden or split consciousness has fascinated psychologists, neuroscientists, and philosophers for decades. Some individuals display overt forms of dissociation, with clearly delineated personalities coexisting within a single brain, each with distinct memories, habits, and emotional responses. More commonly, however, the splitting is subtle, manifesting as suppressed impulses, compartmentalized emotional responses, or latent traits that surface only in specific contexts. The brain achieves this through complex regulation of neural circuits, inhibitory control and memory partitioning, creating pockets of awareness that can operate semi-independently, while maintaining the appearance of a coherent self. The eeriness of this architecture lies in the mind's ability to hide from itself, concealing traits and experiences that, if fully accessed, might disrupt identity, perception, or emotional equilibrium. Emotions play a critical role in this hidden landscape. Anger, fear, longing, or desire may be tucked away in subconscious compartments, only emerging under extreme stress, unexpected triggers, or intense introspection. The amygdala, hippocampus, and prefrontal cortex coordinate to regulate which emotional streams rise to conscious awareness, balancing survival, social cohesion, and personal narrative. This delicate orchestration ensures functionality while masking aspects of the self that are deemed socially inappropriate, psychologically destabilizing, or evolutionarily disadvantageous. In this way, the mind operates like a stage with hidden wings. Performers wait silently, unseen, ready to step forward when conditions permit, altering behavior, decision-making, and even perception in subtle but profound ways. Memory, too, contributes to the construction and concealment of identity. Experiences deemed too painful, shameful, or threatening may be relegated to the shadows, encoded in ways that prevent immediate retrieval, yet leave traces influencing thought, mood, and behavior. Neural microcircuits, reinforced by glial modulation and synaptic plasticity, maintain these hidden memories in a latent state, creating undercurrents that guide choices, emotional reactions, and personal narrative. This architecture allows the conscious mind to function effectively while preserving complex emotional depth, a hidden scaffolding that supports identity yet obscures the full breadth of the self. The eeriness lies not in the concealment itself, but in the subtle power it wields. These hidden aspects of consciousness shape reality, perception, and experience without explicit recognition. The mind behind the mask is also a theater of conflicting desires and moral complexity. Subconscious impulses, aggression, lust, ambition, or altruism, may exist in tension with conscious identity, moderated by inhibitory circuits and social learning. The anterior cingulate cortex, orbitofrontal cortex, and limbic structures coordinate to reconcile these conflicts, determining which traits are expressed, suppressed, or modified. In certain circumstances, stress, trauma, or emotional upheaval, these suppressed elements may break through, revealing hidden facets of personality that surprise both the individual and observers. This fluidity challenges assumptions of a stable, unitary self, suggesting that identity is a negotiated emergent property of neural networks, modulated by experience, memory, and emotion. Psychological phenomena such as dissociation, compartmentalization, and selective attention exemplify the brain's capacity to manage hidden aspects of the self. In extreme cases, multiple distinct consciousnesses may inhabit a single individual, each with unique preferences, memories, and emotional responses. In more subtle forms, these divisions manifest as internal dialogues, conflicting motivations, or shadow traits that influence thought and behavior without conscious recognition. The eerie dimension arises from the mind's ability to conceal and reveal selectively, creating layers of personality that may never be fully integrated, yet exert influence over perception, choice, and identity in profound ways. Cultural and societal pressures further shape the masks we wear. From childhood onward, socialization teaches which impulses are acceptable, which traits must be hidden, and how to navigate interpersonal dynamics. Neural circuits involved in self-monitoring, social cognition, and reward evaluation are reinforced to maintain these masks, ensuring conformity while preserving hidden depths. The result is a dual existence, one publicly visible, shaped by norms and expectation, and another privately experienced, consisting of suppressed desires, latent talents, and emotional currents that flow beneath awareness. These hidden layers enrich personality, providing depth, creativity, and resilience, yet they also harbor uncertainty, unpredictability, and potential for internal conflict. Suppression is not solely a defensive mechanism. It is also a reservoir of potential. Hidden traits, when accessed deliberately through introspection, therapy, or altered states, can be integrated into conscious awareness, enhancing creativity, insight, and emotional intelligence. The brain's latent capacities for empathy, problem-solving, and adaptive response often reside within these masked layers, suggesting that concealed aspects of personality are not merely vestigial or pathological, but serve as hidden reserves of cognitive and emotional strength. The challenge and the eeriness lies in navigating these layers without being overwhelmed by the depth, complexity, or intensity they contain. Trauma often intensifies the splitting of consciousness. Painful or overwhelming experiences may fragment identity, creating compartments that protect the mind while simultaneously influencing behavior in subtle, pervasive ways. Neural circuitry adapts to preserve function and minimize distress, yet the traces of these hidden selves persist, influencing thought, decision-making, and emotional reactivity. Even decades later, triggers may awaken suppressed traits or memories, revealing dimensions of the self long concealed. This interplay between concealment and emergence underscores the fragility and resilience of consciousness, revealing the mind's extraordinary capacity to balance protection, function, and hidden complexity. Introspection, particularly when deep or guided, can illuminate the mind behind the mask. Meditation, journaling, or therapeutic exploration allows glimpses into suppressed traits, unacknowledged motivations, and hidden emotional currents. Functional neuroimaging suggests that introspective states engage networks involved in self-reflection, interoception, and memory retrieval, facilitating access to latent aspects of consciousness. These explorations are simultaneously revealing and unsettling. The mind appears both familiar and alien, structured yet unpredictable, a layered landscape of identity that defies simplistic categorization. The eerie beauty lies in discovering that the self is not a monolith, but a dynamic, multifaceted system, capable of astonishing depth, complexity, and adaptability. Even ordinary behavior is shaped by these hidden dimensions. Subtle shifts in tone, gesture, or choice often reflect unconscious aspects of personality, emerging from their concealed compartments. Micro-expressions, fleeting impulses, and instinctive reactions reveal the mind's multiple layers, hinting at the richness beneath conscious control. The brain's architecture allows these layers to coexist, integrating them in ways that maintain functionality while preserving depth. Yet the mind's concealment ensures that no single moment captures the full breadth of identity. Observers and even the self rarely perceive the full spectrum, yet its influence permeates thought, emotion, and action. The interplay between concealment and emergence fosters both creativity and tension. Artists, writers, and thinkers often draw upon hidden facets of personality, integrating suppressed traits into conscious expression. Emotional depth, imaginative insight, and unconventional thinking are frequently rooted in the mind's hidden reservoirs, where latent aspects of identity interact with conscious reflection. Yet the same hidden depths can provoke internal conflict, anxiety, or self-doubt when suppressed elements conflict with socially accepted identity or conscious goals. This tension shapes both experience and expression, underscoring the eerie, multifaceted nature of consciousness. Ultimately, the mind behind the mask is a testament to the brain's extraordinary capacity for complexity, subtlety, and self-regulation. Identity emerges as a negotiated construct, balancing concealment, expression, memory, and emotion across layered networks of neurons, glial cells, and microstructures. The masks we wear protect, guide, and shape behavior, yet they conceal a dynamic interplay of traits, impulses, and emotional currents that enrich, challenge, and define the self. To peer behind the mask is to glimpse the extraordinary architecture of consciousness itself, layered, fluid, and profoundly intricate, revealing dimensions of identity that are both unsettling and awe-inspiring. As we prepare to move beyond the exploration of hidden personalities, the mind appears as a vast layered landscape where identity is neither fixed nor singular, where emotional depth, suppressed traits, and split consciousness coexist in dynamic equilibrium. The revelations of the mind behind the mask foreshadow the next journey into the brain's hidden energies, its profound influence on perception, and the shadowed circuits that govern the boundary between thought, reality, and imagination. The exploration continues, deeper into the unseen architecture of the human mind, where masks, shadows, and hidden selves converge to shape experience, identity, and the extraordinary potential of consciousness itself. Step cautiously into the shadowed territory where the mind teeters on the edge between coherence and disarray, where the fragile architecture of perception can fracture and where the boundaries of reality blur into silence. Mental illness, psychosis, and extreme alterations of consciousness offer glimpses into the hidden workings of the brain, revealing both the brilliance and vulnerability of its intricate networks. In this shadowed landscape, the line between what is real and what is imagined is no longer firm, and the familiar structures of identity, memory, and perception are constantly under negotiation. The experience of mental instability is not simply a deviation from a normative baseline. It is an unveiling of the profound plasticity, sensitivity, and hidden potential of consciousness, exposing layers of thought, emotion, and perception that remain concealed in ordinary experience. Psychosis, in particular, illustrates the brain's capacity to construct reality in deeply subjective ways. Hallucinations, delusions, and altered sensory perceptions reveal the extent to which cognition relies on predictive models, memory integration, and neural interpretation. The brain continuously anticipates input, reconstructing experience based on prior knowledge, expectation, and internal models. When these predictive processes become dysregulated, perception itself may be transformed, and the individual experiences a reality that is internally coherent yet externally divergent. Neural circuits involving the prefrontal cortex, thalamus, and sensory cortices are implicated, highlighting how subtle imbalances in excitation, inhibition, and connectivity can dramatically alter the felt world. In this light, psychosis is not merely a malfunction, it is a window into the extraordinary sensitivity and flexibility of the mind, revealing the hidden mechanisms that ordinarily stabilize consciousness. Mental illness also exposes the interplay between emotional depth and perceptual distortion. Depression, anxiety, and obsessive-compulsive phenomena illustrate how mood, expectation, and cognition are interwoven, influencing not only thought, but the perception of time, space, and causality. Neurochemical imbalances, dopamine, serotonin, and glutamate, modulate neural oscillations and connectivity, shaping subjective experience in ways that are often invisible to outside observers. The mind's capacity to filter, amplify, or distort stimuli is revealed in stark relief suggesting that what we consider reality is not a simple reflection of the external world, but a continuously constructed narrative, shaped by hidden neural architectures, chemical states, and past experiences. The cinematic depth of this process lies in its simultaneity. The mind can feel lucid, coherent, and precise, even while its internal model diverges from external reality, producing experiences that are compelling, convincing, and often terrifying. Trauma, too, leaves indelible marks on the brain, influencing perception, memory, and emotional regulation in subtle yet profound ways. Post-traumatic stress, dissociation, and flashbacks demonstrate the brain's capacity to preserve survival-oriented responses while simultaneously reshaping the conscious narrative. The amygdala, hippocampus, and medial prefrontal cortex orchestrate a delicate balance between memory encoding, emotional salience, and threat anticipation. Traumatic experiences may become hyper-accessible, intruding into present awareness, while other memories remain suppressed or fragmented. This duality mirrors the broader theme of mental instability. Consciousness is a layered construct, containing both clarity and opacity, coherence and fragmentation, a constant negotiation between stability and disruption. Hallucinations and perceptual distortions are particularly revealing in their interplay with attention and expectation. The brain continuously interprets sensory input through predictive coding, comparing incoming data to internal models. When these models fail or are misaligned, perception can be radically altered. Individuals experiencing auditory hallucinations may hear voices that are convincing and contextually relevant, while visual hallucinations can create fully immersive environments that obey the mind's internal logic yet do not exist externally. These phenomena highlight the brain's hidden power to construct compelling realities, demonstrating that perception is not passive but a creative act, continuously synthesizing data from the senses, memory, and expectation to produce the lived experience of reality. Schizophrenia and related disorders further illuminate the fragile boundaries of identity. The brain's networks responsible for self-monitoring, agency, and perspective-taking can become dysregulated, producing experiences where internal thoughts are perceived as external commands, or where the self feels fragmented or alien. Neural circuits involving the temporoparietal junction, anterior cingulate cortex, and default mode network are implicated, revealing the anatomical and functional substrates that underlie subjective continuity. The eeriness of these conditions lies in the simultaneous presence of logic and distortion. The mind can maintain remarkable coherence in one domain while collapsing entirely in another, exposing the hidden architecture of thought, memory, and perception in a way that is both somber and cinematic. Depersonalization and derealization provide further insight into the brain's delicate orchestration of experience. In these states, individuals report feeling detached from their body, their surroundings, or their own emotions. The world may appear dreamlike, flat, or artificial, while consciousness continues to process information and maintain function. Neuroimaging studies suggest that these experiences arise from alterations in connectivity between sensory, emotional, and self-referential networks. The mind constructs a sense of self and environment from multiple streams of data, yet subtle disruptions can produce experiences that are profoundly unsettling, revealing how thin the veil is between subjective reality and the silent abyss beyond perception. Time perception is also deeply affected by altered mental states. Moments may stretch, collapse, or repeat in loops, contributing to the disorienting nature of psychosis, trauma, and extreme anxiety. The cerebellum, basal ganglia, and cortical timing networks interact with emotional and attentional circuits to produce the subjective sense of duration. Disruption of these processes can lead to experiences where hours feel like seconds, minutes like eternities, or sequences repeat endlessly. These distortions underscore the mind's active role in shaping reality, revealing that temporal experience, like perception itself, is a construct emerging from hidden neural patterns rather than a fixed property of the external world. Existential questions naturally arise when exploring these shadowed territories of consciousness. If perception, memory, and identity can be so profoundly altered, what does this reveal about the nature of reality itself? Are our daily experiences merely stable approximations of a deeper, mutable truth? The brain's hidden networks demonstrate remarkable adaptability and sensitivity, capable of producing both extraordinary insight and profound distortion. In this sense, the mind is simultaneously a creator and interpreter of reality, balancing the demands of coherence, survival, and social function while concealing its capacity for profound alteration. Even in states of apparent dysfunction, the brain reveals its astonishing resilience. Many individuals navigate psychosis, trauma, or mood disorders, while maintaining functional lives, relationships, and creative capacities. This resilience reflects the brain's distributed architecture, where parallel networks, redundant pathways, and adaptive plasticity allow consciousness to persist despite internal turbulence. The interplay between vulnerability and strength, fragility and adaptability, creates a cinematic tension. The mind exists on a knife edge between stability and chaos, yet it continues to construct meaning, interpret experience, and navigate existence. Silence, too, plays a role in these extreme mental states. Moments of inward stillness, dissociation, or contemplation reveal the mind's capacity to disengage from external reality, entering states that feel simultaneously expansive and empty. These experiences are often described as meditative, otherworldly, or surreal, suggesting that the boundaries of perception are flexible and that consciousness can occupy multiple experiential planes. Neural oscillations, interoceptive processing, and default mode network activity appear to orchestrate these states, highlighting the hidden harmonies and vulnerabilities that govern subjective experience. In navigating the terrain between sanity and silence, the mind demonstrates both its astonishing adaptability and its profound fragility. The boundaries of reality, identity, and perception are maintained through a delicate orchestration of neural circuits, chemical signals, and cognitive processes. Trauma, psychosis, and extreme emotional states reveal the hidden currents that underlie experience, exposing the mind's capacity to construct, distort, and reconstruct reality in ways that are simultaneously compelling and unsettling. The cinematic quality of these processes emerges from their simultaneity. Consciousness can be coherent in one domain, fragmented in another, and yet maintain a persistent thread of self-awareness, revealing the extraordinary complexity of hidden neural architecture. Even ordinary moments are shaped by these underlying dynamics. Subtle disruptions in attention, emotional regulation, or sensory integration can produce transient experiences of unreality, depersonalization, or distorted time. The brain continuously calibrates perception against expectation, memory, and contextual cues, creating a stable experience while concealing the precariousness of its construction. This hidden scaffolding underscores a profound truth. Reality, as experienced, is a carefully orchestrated synthesis of neural activity, constantly negotiated by networks operating largely beyond conscious awareness. As we leave the shadowed territory between sanity and silence, the mind emerges as both fragile and formidable. Its capacity for distortion, reconstruction, and resilience reveals the hidden architecture of perception, cognition, and emotion. While existential questions linger, what is real, what is imagined, and how much of experience is constructed from the interplay of neural patterns, chemistry, and hidden networks, the cinematic depth of this exploration prepares us for the final journey into the ultimate synthesis of hidden knowledge, consciousness, and the extraordinary potential that lies within the brain itself. Step now into the vast expanse of the mind, where consciousness unfolds like an endless labyrinth, a place of reflections, echoes, and hidden corridors that extend far beyond ordinary perception. The brain, in its infinite complexity, is at once a vault of memory, a forge of imagination, and a theater where identity is continuously constructed, deconstructed, and reconstructed. Each neural pathway, each glial cell, and each flicker of electrical activity contributes to the ceaseless dance of thought, perception, and awareness. To gaze into the infinite mirror of consciousness is to confront the staggering reality that every moment experienced, every sensation felt, and every thought considered is the product of layers upon layers of hidden architecture, working in silent coordination to generate the tapestry of subjective reality. This labyrinth is not static. Neural plasticity ensures that the corridors of the mind are constantly shifting, branching, and intertwining. Memories once thought fixed can be reshaped, suppressed, or vividly recalled in altered form. Hidden cognitive abilities lie dormant, waiting for the precise alignment of attention, intention, and circumstance to emerge. The mind's capacity for adaptation, learning, and innovation is boundless, constrained only by the limits of current experience and the reach of conscious exploration. Within this infinite mirror, the familiar self becomes simultaneously recognizable and alien, a reflection that is always slightly askew, revealing facets previously unseen, dimensions previously unimagined, and potential previously unconsidered. All the secrets we have explored, the hidden memories, the veiled hemispheres, the whispered chemicals, the dreams that encode knowledge, the subtle architects of thought, the echoes of trauma, the illusions of control, the music of neural patterns, the perception of time, forbidden knowledge, split consciousness, and the fragility of sanity converge here, within this boundless reflective space. Each layer interacts with the others, producing an intricate interplay of cause and effect, where emotion shapes perception, thought shapes action, and memory shapes identity. The brain in this sense is both the observer and the observed, a self-reflective organism capable of contemplating its own processes while simultaneously being shaped by them. The infinite mirror reflects not only what is, but what could be, what has been, and what might never emerge except under the most extraordinary circumstances. In this vastness, one begins to understand the subtle power of hidden currents, neural networks that operate beneath conscious awareness, guide choices, shape perceptions, and influence emotional responses. Microstructures, long considered supporting actors, orchestrate an unseen symphony, enabling cognition, creativity, and intuition to flourish. Neurochemicals, fluctuating silently within synapses, modulate mood, motivation, and attention, shaping experience in ways both intimate and profound. The mind, in essence, is an ecosystem, an interplay of structure and function, of potential and limitation, of concealment and revelation. Within its infinite halls, secrets both vast and minute coexist, waiting to be discovered, remembered, or transformed. The labyrinthine nature of consciousness also means that every individual experience is unique, yet interconnected. Thoughts ripple across neural pathways, influencing subsequent decisions, perceptions, and emotional states. Memories reverberate, shaping not only the past recalled but the future anticipated. Hidden selves, split consciousness, and suppressed traits contribute subtle influences that color every interaction, every reflection, every creative impulse. The brain is simultaneously a private universe and a shared vessel, where the personal and the collective, the seen and the unseen, the remembered and the forgotten converge. In this sense, consciousness is an ever-expanding mirror, reflecting infinite possibilities while remaining grounded in the tangible realities of neural architecture and embodied experience. The immersive quality of the brain's infinite mirror lies in its simultaneity. It is capable of generating dreams that compress time, memories that reshape identity, and insights that arise from previously untapped cognitive reserves. It is capable of harboring trauma and resilience, illusion and clarity, fear and profound awe. The mind synthesizes these elements seamlessly, often without conscious recognition, creating the lived experience of reality. Yet beneath this seamless surface, complexity abounds. Circuits interact, chemicals fluctuate, microstructures adapt, and networks communicate in a ceaseless symphony that is both precise and unpredictable. To consider the mind in this way is to confront a profound paradox. The brain is at once tangible and ineffable, measurable and immeasurable, comprehensible and endlessly mysterious. Within this reflective expanse, the brain's capacity for consciousness becomes a meditation on infinity. Each thought is a spark in a boundless cosmos of possibility. Each emotion a subtle shift in a delicate equilibrium, each perception a synthesis of countless hidden processes. The hidden layers of cognition, latent abilities, suppressed traits, and subconscious currents serve as both guideposts and mysteries, shaping the contours of experience while remaining tantalizingly out of reach. The infinite mirror is not merely metaphorical. It is embodied within every neuron, every synapse, and every oscillation of electrical activity, a living reflection of potential, limitation, and extraordinary depth. The brain's reflective nature also invites introspection and philosophical wonder. If consciousness is a mirror reflecting its own processes, then every moment of awareness is a dialogue with hidden selves, unspoken knowledge, and untapped potential. The mind contemplates itself while being shaped by itself, creating a dynamic feedback loop where observation and creation are inseparable. This recursive quality allows humans to ponder their own perception, challenge assumptions about reality, and explore the boundaries of cognition in ways that are simultaneously exhilarating and humbling. The infinite mirror illuminates the interplay between the known and the unknown, the revealed and the concealed, the conscious and the unconscious. In contemplating this boundless labyrinth, one also confronts the fragility and resilience of identity. Memories can shift, perceptions can distort, and hidden currents can emerge unexpectedly, yet the mind continuously strives for coherence, continuity, and meaning. The self is maintained through constant negotiation between visible and hidden processes, between conscious intention and subconscious influence. Trauma, psychosis, altered perception, and deep introspection each reveal the mind's capacity to adapt, reconfigure, and reflect upon itself, underscoring the brain's extraordinary plasticity and subtle power. Within the infinite mirror, identity is both constructed and discovered, perpetually in motion, yet anchored by the hidden scaffolding of neural networks, microstructures, and biochemical orchestration. The aesthetic of this exploration is cinematic, inviting one to wander through corridors of thought and shadowed chambers of emotion, to follow the subtle interplay of memory, cognition, and perception, and to witness the hidden architects at work behind the scenes. It is a meditation not only on the brain as a physical organ, but on consciousness as an experience, an ever-expanding, infinitely layered mirror reflecting the totality of human potential, limitation, and mystery. Each secret, each hidden current, each unspoken facet of the mind contributes to this reflective expanse, creating a tapestry that is simultaneously intricate, beautiful, and awe-inspiring. The convergence of all previous sections, the locked chambers of memory, the hidden hemispheres, the whispered chemicals, the dreams, the forbidden knowledge, the veiled selves, and the fragile boundaries between sanity and silence, culminates in this reflection. The brain, as an infinite mirror, holds within it the capacity to encode, conceal, and reveal. It navigates reality while constructing it, remembers the past while imagining the future, perceives the world while reflecting upon itself. Each neural interaction, each hidden current, and each suppressed or emergent trait contributes to the ongoing performance of consciousness, a symphony of thought and emotion playing continuously behind the scenes of awareness. In this boundless reflection, one is reminded of the brain's duality. It is simultaneously the creator and the observer, the container and the contained, the finite and the infinite. Its networks, oscillations, and chemical landscapes are the medium through which the mind experiences, constructs, and contemplates existence. Hidden abilities, suppressed traits, and untapped potential hover at the periphery of awareness, always accessible yet often unnoticed, suggesting that human experience is both richer and stranger than the surface of consciousness would imply. The infinite mirror, in this sense, is a living testament to the extraordinary complexity, adaptability, and beauty of the human mind. As we wander deeper into this reflective labyrinth, the cinematic scope of consciousness becomes apparent. Shadows of past experiences mingle with latent abilities. Echoes of trauma coexist with sparks of insight. Time stretches, compresses, and folds upon itself, and the self emerges as a dynamic, fluid construct in dialogue with countless hidden currents. The brain is not merely a biological organ. It is an architect, a storyteller, a weaver of perception and identity. Within its infinite mirror, every secret previously explored finds resonance, creating a profound meditation on the nature of awareness, the depths of potential, and the subtle forces that shape every facet of human experience. Ultimately, the infinite mirror invites awe, introspection, and humility. It reminds us that consciousness is simultaneously familiar and alien, observable yet ineffable, constrained yet infinitely expansive. The brain's hidden corridors, silent currents, and secret architectures reflect the totality of human potential, the mystery of selfhood and the enduring wonder of perception. To gaze into this mirror is to confront the boundless depth of the mind, to acknowledge the interplay of knowledge, secrecy, and possibility, and to appreciate the extraordinary labyrinth that exists within every human being. The journey through the brain's infinite mirror is both the culmination of exploration and the beginning of endless reflection, a meditation on consciousness that continues long after the mind has closed its eyes, whispering secrets that will forever remain partially hidden, infinitely mysterious and profoundly inspiring. As our journey through the hidden chambers of the mind draws to a close, we are left standing before the immense, silent expanse of the brain, a keeper of secrets, a vault of memories, a labyrinth of thought and emotion that stretches far beyond ordinary perception. The 29 hidden truths we have glimpsed reveal not only the astonishing capabilities of this organ, but also its delicate vulnerability, its subtle orchestration of experience, and its quiet mastery of consciousness. From the locked chambers of memory to the whispers of chemicals, from the dreams that dance between worlds to the hidden architects that shape thought, the brain emerges as a universe unto itself, simultaneously familiar and alien, intimate and immense. Each secret we have explored underscores a profound reality, that human consciousness is not merely a reflection of the external world, but a construct endlessly sculpted by hidden currents, latent potentials, and forces largely invisible to our own awareness. The first truths reminded us that memory is fluid, malleable, and sometimes deceptive, a repository of experiences that can shift and reform, carrying echoes of the past that influence every decision, perception, and emotion. Our exploration of neural connections and plasticity revealed that thoughts and actions are rarely isolated. They are orchestrated by invisible networks whose subtle rhythms guide behavior, shape intuition, and create patterns that we may never consciously comprehend. The hidden hemispheres, the quiet influence of neurotransmitters, and the intricate symphony of chemical modulation all showed us that the mind is an elegant, precise, and mysterious machine, capable of producing both profound insight and unfathomable depth of feeling. Dreams, visions, and the unconscious mind whispered their secrets, hinting that there are realms of cognition and perception that lie just beyond ordinary awareness. In these nocturnal corridors, the brain encodes hidden knowledge, rehearses possibilities, and allows latent creativity to surface. Similarly, our journey into subconscious instincts and intuition revealed that the mind is not a passive observer, but an active participant in its own evolution, constantly adapting, predicting, and shaping experience, often beneath the threshold of consciousness. Even the glial cells, long considered secondary players, emerged as silent architects orchestrating thought, supporting cognition, and quietly guiding the intricate dance of neurons, reminding us that the mind's complexity extends far beyond what meets the eye. The exploration of trauma, hidden selves, and split consciousness revealed the profound interplay between suppression and emergence, between vulnerability and resilience. The brain protects itself, partitions painful experiences, and conceals aspects of identity that might disrupt equilibrium. Yet these hidden traits also serve as reservoirs of creativity, insight, and latent potential. In this way, the mind balances the demands of survival with the richness of emotional depth, revealing layers that are simultaneously protective, instructive, and astonishingly complex. We glimpsed the fragility of perception, the illusions of control, and the delicate boundaries between sanity and silence, learning that consciousness is both resilient and fragile, a tightrope walk over the uncharted chasm of the mind. The brain's infinite mirror reflected the convergence of all these secrets, illustrating that consciousness is at once an observer and the observed, a constructor of reality and a product of hidden neural processes. Every thought, sensation, and emotion is shaped by the interweaving of visible and invisible networks, by the subtle currents of hidden cognition and emotion, and by the brain's remarkable capacity to adapt, conceal, and reveal. The labyrinth of consciousness is boundless, filled with corridors we may never fully traverse, chambers we may only glimpse, and reflections that are simultaneously familiar and alien, It is here, in the infinite expanse of the mind, that human experience, memory, creativity, emotion, and intuition interacts with hidden truths to create the rich tapestry of being. As we consider the human brain in this light, it becomes clear that perception itself is a construct, shaped by both visible and hidden forces, chemical and electrical rhythms, conscious intention, and subconscious guidance. We are participants in an ongoing dialogue with our own minds, negotiating the boundaries of awareness, uncovering latent abilities, and encountering the shadows and reflections of our own inner worlds. Emotions, both subtle and intense, ripple through these hidden networks, influencing thought, shaping behavior, and creating the luminous patterns that constitute personality, identity, and the very experience of self. The brain's secrets remind just that who we are is not a fixed point, but a dynamic unfolding process, sculpted by hidden architectures, silent currents, and the quiet whispers of memory, instinct, and intuition. In reflecting on these hidden truths, one realizes that the mind's depth is both humbling and awe-inspiring. Every neuron, synapse, and oscillation contributes to a silent symphony of cognition that is continually performing, even in the quietest moments. The brain is a keeper of secrets, not only because of what it hides from others, but because it hides from itself, guarding chambers of memory, suppressed traits, and subconscious knowledge that quietly shape our lives. Yet within these shadows lies extraordinary potential, the capacity for creativity, empathy, understanding, and insight that transcends what is immediately visible or measurable. The more we explore the brain, the more apparent it becomes that its mysteries are infinite, and that every discovery leads naturally to new questions, new corridors, and new reflections. As the mind drifts toward rest, this meditation on consciousness takes on an almost hypnotic rhythm. Thoughts slow, awareness narrows, and the infinite mirror of the brain becomes a space for quiet reflection where the secrets we have explored can settle into the subconscious. The hidden currents, silent architects, and latent potentials that shape our waking life continue to operate, weaving connections, rehearsing possibilities, and nurturing insights that may emerge in dreams or quiet moments of contemplation. The brain, in its mysterious elegance, remains both familiar and unknowable, a keeper of secrets that cannot be fully catalogued, yet whose presence is profoundly felt in every heartbeat, every thought, and every moment of awareness. And so, as we prepare to close our exploration, let us linger in this gentle, quiet space, aware of the hidden depths that dwell within ourselves. The brain's secrets do not demand full comprehension. They invite reflection, reverence, and awe. They remind us that consciousness is a delicate, fluid, and infinitely complex phenomenon, that perception is shaped as much by hidden currents as by visible reality, and that our inner worlds are rich with unspoken knowledge, suppressed traits, and subtle truths waiting to be discovered. In this calm, liminal space between thought and rest, one can sense the silent symphony that underlies every experience, every emotion, and every perception, reverberating softly through the infinite mirror of the mind. In the quiet of your own thoughts, in the stillness before sleep, the mind becomes a mirror reflecting itself. Memories whisper, latent abilities hum softly, emotions trace delicate patterns, and hidden selves wait patiently to be acknowledged. These are the secrets the brain keeps, the silent architects of consciousness, the uncharted corridors of awareness, and the infinite potential of the mind. And as you drift deeper into calm reflection, you may notice that the brain's whispers are not distant or foreign, but intimately familiar, resonating softly with your own experience, shaping your dreams, coloring your perceptions, and inviting you to explore, again and again, the endless labyrinth that is your own consciousness. In the final hush of contemplation, we leave you with a simple, lingering question, one that echoes in the quiet chambers of the mind. In the quiet of your thoughts, which secrets whisper back to you? Here, in the gentle fold of awareness, the brain's mysteries remain alive, shimmering just beneath perception, inviting curiosity, reflection, and wonder. It is here that the silent keeper of secrets rests, eternal and unseen, guiding thought, perception, and emotion, offering a meditation that is at once calm, mysterious, and infinitely expansive, ready to accompany the mind into the quiet, dreaming spaces of the night.